Hello, everyone. I hope I'm starting to talk the moment it begins because lately we're having issues with the recordings. They need to hear me. So even if no one is here yet, I am saying hello. And here we go. All right, so Sarah and Robert and Mason, come on in, everyone. Come on in. Welcome. Let's see. So I would appreciate if you guys give a little hello on the sorry, I'm trying to speak and write my password. I can't do both. Go ahead and go to the chat and give a little hello in the chat. And I am signing into, I had to reset my VDI because it wasn't connecting, so I'm resetting it. Meanwhile, I wanted to thank you, all of you who have been checking, not checking, submitting your things into the into the Padlet. I do see something that was submitted 2 or 3 times. So, and it doesn't say who it's from. Oh, RP, is that you, Robert Paula? Yeah, that's probably what RP stands for. I was trying to figure out what, I couldn't remember off the top of my head.
That's correct.
That's correct. Okay, cool. Thank you for posting that. And let me just share with you, because he takes notes of the class now, I've discovered, and he posted them up here. So in the Padlet, which by the way, here, let me go ahead and post again the Padlet right now in the chat so that later if people want it, I have it there. So he went ahead and took some notes, okay? And then he, if you go in backwards order, this is page 4, page 3, page 2, page 1. But if you actually click on it, you'll see that he took notes of the whole process of what it takes. He called it how to print a glass frog, but basically it's the how to supersize, so to say, an image, the whole, all the steps that you need to do. If you go to number 2, close that box, open this one. So it's all the steps to end up, you know, about the whole class that we did with interpolation and resampling and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, if anyone is interested in doing that, you can click on this and then over here, download it. And then you can have the notes that he took as your notes for that class as well. So thank you for sharing that. Some people do well with just memories or with the recordings, and other people really like to have, you know, the steps written out, and that's what he did right there. So so Saul isn't here, but I just wanted to point out some other stuff that people in the class have been, but I'll wait until he gets here. All right. So how's it going, everyone? How was last class? Did I leave you in a place where you're feeling confused or empowered or excited or, oh my God, or where's the temperature of the class? Give me, maybe go to the emojis and give me the emoji that represents what you're feeling right now. In the reactions, you can go to the emojis. I'm going to stop my share so you can find them a little bit easier. And okay, Sarah's like, oh, yay, party. Natalia is having a party with us. All right. Okay, So while people keep popping in, I'm going to, so I was just sharing the Padlet, which I appreciate that everyone posted the class work. If you haven't yet posted the classwork, please remember that's part of the whole deal, that I need to see the work that you're doing in class. And let me share now my bridge. Okay, so for those of you who are on your own computers, meaning not the school system, go open InDesign and open the file that we were working on last class. For those of you who are in Google Drive, you need to go over to the My Drive. I'm assuming you saved it in My Drive. That's what we did, or just open InDesign. And see, this is something that doesn't happen at home. In your own system, you should have here in the recents the last thing that we did in InDesign. But in my school computer, sometimes it doesn't register. Otherwise, over here in recents, we could just click on the file and it would find where we had saved it. Sometimes VDI does, or sometimes it doesn't register, that kind of stuff. Anyway, so I'm going to go to Bridge, and I have here the files from my drive. Okay. And then in that one, we have at least in my version, the one that I had left there was still with the bizarre colors, okay, that we had in Photoshop. So this is that last one, okay? So I'm going to double click on it to have it open in InDesign. I'm going to go ahead, since I know that I'm going to be using Photoshop later, I'm going to go ahead and also have Photoshop open and ready to go. But since I'm sharing this, I wanted to show you that what it says here is this document contains links to sources that have been missing or modified. When you, when we close this file, remember that we had said there were a couple of errors in it and we had to update it. So right now, when I closed it, this is basically the equivalent of that error message telling me, oh, wait, nothing is missing. And this is important. It's not like it's missing, because missing stuff would mean that you changed the file name, or that you put the file in a different folder from where you had when you imported it, right? When you placed it. So it's just telling you it's missing, or maybe you trashed it, you truly got rid of it or something. And so it would have a missing link. So this doesn't say it's missing. It's just saying that it's been modified. Okay. So after I've closed the InDesign file, I must have modified, or it may be saved again, my Photoshop file. So since I know it's not missing, and I know that it was connected to the correct ones, it's asking me, should I update or not? And I'm like, yeah, go ahead and update. That way I won't open up with errors. If I don't say update, then when it opens up, it'll have a little warning sign, and I'll have to update by double clicking. Okay. That little yellow warning sign. So by just clicking this right there, it already updates it, and it's going to open up without errors. Okay, so here down here it says no errors. So if you guys get that, when you open a file, it just means that you probably created a save of the Photoshop file after you had saved the original file, the InDesign file, the one that's creating the layout. Okay. All right. So hi, everyone. I see most of you guys are in. So that's wonderful. Now, just because when you first arrive, the chat begins at the moment you arrive and you don't have it, I'm just posting here again the Padlet link, so that if anyone still hasn't posted their stuff from last week, to please do so. I already showed Padlet, but now that Saul is here with us, I want to show really quickly. Look at how cool this thing that he posted that he made in, and I believe this is an Illustrator, right? And so he's showing all the different little bits and pieces of, it's the stacks inside of one layer in Illustrator where he made this cool toucan. So beautiful, nicely done. And posted in the Illustrator class as well, where we can talk about it more, about how you worked with that. But I like that. All right. So I like how you guys are, extending or expanding, and hopefully this is also tempting some of you guys who are wondering what other classes to take, that yes, in this class, you're not going to learn in depth any of these C programs. You're going to learn how to move things around and create the layout of all 3 programs. But to make that bird, then you need to take the Illustrator class. All right, Joni, you have your hand up. If you're talking, you're muted, so.
Yes, I have a question. What were the things we wanted to open up? Because when I guess when you're sharing your screen, I couldn't get it to be smaller.
Well, if you just open InDesign and go up to File and then go to Recent, it should have at the very top that last file that we worked on 2 days ago. Unless you've kept working on it somewhere, then just by doing that, you will be able to open the last InDesign, the one where we created the 2 different sizes in 1 page of images. And at the very end of the day, we were beginning to work on how to move our arrows. And so that's the file that we're going to start with.
Okay. And Photoshop was the other one you said?
Well, I said at some point, we're going to go back and get this color out of the way. So we will want Photoshop. So if you want to go ahead and in the background start opening Photoshop, I know that I will be opening it. And it's not that you have to, as we said before, you could just click on the file and it would open directly in Photoshop, but it takes time to open it. So go ahead and get it going so that whenever we need it, it's already open. Okay. Yep. So hi, Brisa. Hi, everyone. What I'm asking everyone is to open their InDesign. And if you remember where it's saved, I remembered where I saved it in Bridge. So I went to Bridge to open it. But another trick is to open InDesign and then go to File, Recent, and then over here in order of which files you were using last. The number 1 would be the one I used the closest, to me. So meaning the one that I did 2 days ago in class, and so on and so forth. So there's other stuff here that I've done a while ago. So in order of most recent being number 1 and so on and so forth. Number 9 would be the least recent one. Okay. And that helps when you're not really clear where you put it. All right. So give me a green check mark when you all have this file opened up. This is the file that we created at the last week. Last class on Tuesday. And just as a mini review here, we have a 1-page document that is not that does not have a correctly sized image. For some of us it's bigger, for some of us it's shorter, for some of us it's thinner. And then we have that same file placed twice. So when you go to the links, you see that there's only 1 file, but it's placed there 2 times. And in one case, one of the versions is in page 1, and then one of the versions is in the pasteboard. Okay. So now I wanted you guys at the end of the last class to approach the pasteboard over here. And so I'm going to do Control or Command plus a little bit so I can get a little bit closer to this one that's on the pasteboard. Then I'm going to hold down my space bar, get my little hand so that I can scooch over to this one here where I want to teach you some stuff. One more thing I want to do, instead of having to paste this file again, I want us to just create another one just like that. So I'm going to show you what I just did. Instead of I want another one out here in the pasteboard. Okay. So how do we create another one in the pasteboard? You can either go File, Place, drag it out, right? Or the ultimate shortcut across Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign to do a copy of something, as you just saw me do so quickly, is to select the thing you want to copy, always with the black arrow key. Okay. And those of you who've done this in Photoshop or in Illustrator, do you remember what the shortcut is to really quickly copy something without doing Command C, Command paste, without the copy paste? What's the shortcut? What's the key?
Alt or Command key.
Yes, so hold down to either the Alt key if you're on a PC or on a Mac that's on VDI, or hold down the Option key if you're on a Mac. Hold that down, and then just click and drag, and you'll see that you'll create a perfect copy. And when we hit over to the link, suddenly there's 3 versions of this file. So it's the same file, and we brought it in 3 times. Now, this doesn't make the file, the InDesign file, any bigger or heavier or more unwieldy, because in the end, all you're doing is attaching a link. It's not like I have all the pixels here 3 times. I'm just linking to the same document 3 times. Does that make sense? So everyone try to do that. I asked you to give me a yes if you have the file open and ready to go, but I'm only seeing 3 yeses. So if you have the file open and you're ready to go and working on it, please say yes. If not, I'm going to ask you and help you open it because I need us to keep moving forward. All right. So Robert, you said no. Do you need a hand finding it or getting to it? Or do you want me to give you my version to keep going?
Either one. Either
Well,
way.
why don't you share your screen and let's see if we can just open yours. And if not, I'll make a copy of my version and put it up there. In fact, I'll go ahead and while I'm waiting, I can do a copy. All right, so go to your, okay, there you go. This is InDesign. Now go up to the file right next to the word InDesign, go to the word file. And then go to open recent, which is no, just way above. Yeah, open recent. And there it is, Creek Poster Summer, the first one of those 3. So see, you don't even need to know where you saved it. I mean, at some point you want to know where you saved it, but hopefully not even knowing where you saved it, the computer remembers which was the last one. Did you click on it or because I don't see anything opening up? Go try again. Go to file, open recent. And now reach over there and give it a click. And could be that it's slowing down because you're sharing your screen or not.
I think I just saved a blank under that name.
Okay, so it's possible. So go back. Yeah, because it did open. It says Crease Poster Summer. You're right. So go up to file and see if maybe you had another one before, like the second one in your recent. No, that was the one that's the one that I created. So yeah, you're missing the stuff. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna here, I'm gonna go to Bridge. Do you have Bridge open?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a copy of my file. Copy, and I'm going to go to the, oh, do you have access to the class files? No, you don't. You're at home, so you need to download them.
Well, I've got them in Bridge.
You have the, yeah, but you need to download them. You don't have my fresh ones. Like if I put it in the downloads, you're gonna have to go to the downloads file, which is fine. Let me do this. Let me go to my drive. Give me a second. Is anyone else who's missing the files? Let's just do this because we want to make sure to have the files ready to go. I'm trying to find. The file in my Creek Poster Summer. It is open, so I hope that doesn't affect it. I'm gonna make a copy. And let me let Thomas come in. And now let's head over to okay, shared drives. It's my drive, shared drives, Digital Design Techniques. Okay, so now I am pasting in here. It's not letting me paste. I'm gonna have to drag. Okay. Give me a sec here, you guys. Let me just move this copy and move it down here. Okay, so the reason I can't, when you do go to this file, okay, so now go to Chrome or Safari, whatever you use to get to the internet. And you can download this file. So go to pipeline. Anyone else who needs the file and can't get started without the file, I just put it in the class files, okay? Now, Brissa, you have it there because you're on VDI. So while you go to VDI, go to the just class files, and you will see that it says copy of Summer, a copy of Creek Summer. That's the one I'm working on, okay? All right, so go to the class files, open DigitalDesignTechniques. Yeah, double click. And then open the download class files, double click on that. Okay, and now scroll down to probably the C until we see the word copy of. There it is. Right click on that and download. There you go. Now, this is an important concept that I want everyone to understand and follow. He just downloaded the InDesign file, right? So when he opens it up, what do you expect will happen? Just think about it as far as the messages he's going to get. So anyway, now go to InDesign while people are thinking it through. Go to your InDesign program. Go to your InDesign program and open that up. Can you go to InDesign? Robert, open InDesign. Down in, I see it there in the, I see it there in there. There we go. Okay. So let's close this one because this one's not valid. It's got nothing in it. So go to this file and just say, go down 2 more and say close. Down, down, down a few more and say close. So this one has nothing on it. Say don't save. Okay. And now say file open. Open in existing file. Yep. And now go to your downloads folder. And before you click on this file that you just opened, I want everyone, does anyone have the answer what's about to happen to him? You can speak it out. What kind of message is he going to get?
Want to update the links?
You're almost right. Almost right. Someone else give it a try. I just explained this when I opened mine. Okay, go ahead and open it. Go ahead and double click or click and open. And what it's going to say is not update, rather missing. They're missing. 2 sources are missing. You see that? Why? Because I only gave him the InDesign file. What's missing is the Photoshop file that I brought into that one file. The link is like, oh, where is it? Why? It's not on his computer. Does that make sense, you guys? So it would say update if it file is in my computer and the computer can tell that it has been an update. I made a different color. I did something like that. But when it can't find it because it has no idea where it is, it'll say missing. Okay, so there it is. That's the missing. So now go ahead and say, okay, you can still open. But we need to now, by the way, it's kind of like, what do you mean it's missing? Look, there it is, right? Because this is just a preview of the file, but it isn't the file itself. The file is missing. If you go down at the bottom, it says that there's an error, right? So go to the links. So you have the little link up there, the link icon to be able to view the links. And you might have the Zoom stuff in the way, but if not, I can see it right there, right next to the little window, to the little creek. Yeah, there's your links. Open your links. Click on that. And there it is. It's telling you that you have a missing file, and it's the same one missing 3 times, right? So here's the question I have for you, Robert. Do you have in your computer a Photoshop file that you've been working with, that you made all these changes in colors?
I think so.
And do you know where that is?
Should I open Photoshop?
And well, go to Bridge and let's see if we can find it, because then we can just update it. Go to Bridge.
That's it.
Okay, and his bridge is set up with a different view. And if you're accustomed to this, that's fine. It's not the one that I share, but as long as it works for you, you don't have to look at things my way. But in case people are confused, he's saying he's seen a humongous preview and then a little row in the bottom of all the contacts. Okay, so that's, but there it is. There's his file that's being changed. And if we look at the one that's selected, it does say that it's a PSD file. And it's so with your mouse, can you follow what I'm pointing so people can see how the file that's selected in the bottom in the what's called the film strip area? There it is. You guys see that's the file, and it is a PSD. So what's the file name? Because it's really hard for me to read. It's really tiny.
It
says
Creek dash 875 by.
Okay. So then the size.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So now where is that file? Because to place it, we're going to need to know where it is. Can you go over with your mouse to the top there and see it's in your download class files inside of the folder called downloads inside of Robert Pollock. Okay. So now that you know all of that, all it takes is let's go back to InDesign and go find and play and go and update the link and find the files. All right. So go click on the link you want to update, which is that name up there. No, the name of the file, Creek. So click on the one that has the question mark. So it says Creek PD. No. Well, I guess you can do it from there, but okay, try and double click there. Otherwise, you might need to go to the link folder. Double click right there. Yeah. So now it showed you up there where it is. Okay, so select the file, one of them, it doesn't matter. And then down, so now you've selected the one you want to update, which since it's the same one, it doesn't matter which. So click on that. Click on one of the files. Yeah, and then right underneath you, there's some gray space. And then there's some links, some icons. Okay. So guys, this is what to do when this is such a typical thing to have to do. You need to go find the missing file, right? Because it's like not being recognized. Okay. So this is not for Robert. This is for everyone needs to be paying attention. I'm not just helping Robert get caught up. This is teaching you something. So you select the file that you need to find. And then of those 4 icons that are down there, okay, put your mouse a little bit higher on the one that looks like a link right there and see how the message, and if you can't read it because it's so tiny, it says relink. And if you have more, it says alt click to link all missing links, right? So since we have 3 links, go ahead and hold down the alt and then click on that and we're going to go find it. So hold down your option key when you click on that link and then click on it. Yep. And now the Finder window is going to open up. See, it would like to ask the files in your documents. Yes, and say yes. Okay. And then it opens up your Finder. And now go to Downloads. And now go find your download folder with the files that you have. Yep, click on that. And now go find the Creek dash and all those numbers that you had found .psd. So if you need to make your window a bit bigger so you can distinguish which one it is, you can go and pull this window from the bottom and make it much bigger. Yeah, and you can make that column bigger by putting your hand right there and make it bigger there. So now you can find of all those creeks, which is the one that's the PSD, which is the file name. And I see it already. It's a bit lower than where your mouse is. 1, 2, 3, there it is. Now notice, guys, that my file that I linked is called, I think it's called, the file that I created is Creek poster ready.psd. That's the one I used. But his is called Creek dash, and the sizes. So that's okay. Basically, he's going to choose a different file, but that we know is just as ready. Does that make sense? So this is the way when you want to change a link for another one, you do it this way. All InDesign needs to know is point me to the right place, right? So you're pointing to it. So click on that. Yeah, and now say okay, or double click. And it's gonna, my orange sky one that I have is gonna be replaced by his, which is, so now there it is, by his green one. Okay, and if you move that links panel over, hopefully it seems like it's replaced both of them and there's no errors. So yeah, move that one over a bit. Just go ahead and click on the link again so it disappears. And there it is. See how it's replaced both instances? So now he's ready to go. Save that file. Go ahead and do a file save, and then you're ready to go. And hopefully everyone is getting the message here that what really matters is understanding where your files are. Even if it's a different file, as long as you point it to it, maybe you change the logo. Maybe this is for a different company. Point the place that it says logo to a different logo. And then that brings the new logo up, right? Okay, so that's how templates are made, by the way. There will be a box that says logo here. And when you go, it'll have some, say, basic set logo there. And then you're supposed to go and relink that to your logo, or photo here, and you go relink it to your photo. All right. Okay, Jean, your question?
Yes, so on Tuesday, I had the wrong image. It was too small, but I did find the correct image. Now I am seeming to forget a step of how I opened the new image in InDesign, and I just want to be able to take that and open as a linked file in Photoshop, and I am forgetting a step.
You know what?
So
Go ahead and start by sharing your screen, because all this time I could be seeing. So I need to see what's up. Brissa, your hand is up too. And I just want to say that the file should be up in your Google Drive, the one that I just put in there. It's called Copy of Summer. So and just in case, I know that you showed up a bit later, but I'm not sure if you heard me say that. All right. So this file you said was too small. Is that what you said?
no, I had the wrong size Tuesday, so I found the correct one that I had saved.
Okay. All right.
I'm
So
back a
now-
step, so I'm in InDesign. I opened it. Now I have to open it in Photoshop as a linked
No.
file.
No. This is fine. We're not opening anything in Photoshop. I just said go ahead and open up Photoshop so that it's, but you already see, I see that yours is opening up already.
But
so that's good.
didn't we do a step where we took this from InDesign and made it a linked file in Photoshop? That's why we were doing all the tests with the color and hue and saturation.
Yeah. Oh, so you haven't done the color yet, is what you're saying. Got it. I
so-
didn't know what you were saying. Yeah. So you can select the file up there in your links panel. Go ahead and select that one. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
one?
And then go to that little pencil
This?
icon, the last one, the pencil icon, and it says edit original. And it'll say, do you want to open this file in Photoshop?
Okay,
And
I was
say, yeah.
using the
Mhm.
link. All right, perfect. Thank you.
And then it'll open up and there it is. And now
I'll
you can
stop sharing
create,
and
yeah, and now you can create the hue saturation. Do you know how to create a hue saturation layer?
I'll figure it
The
out.
color? Well, no, it's really quick. Wait, don't stop sharing. Don't worry. Go down to the little set of icons right there. Yeah, one right there. Click on that one, go up to hue saturation, and then move that thing around.
And then they'll both.
And now say save. That's it. And then go back to InDesign and you'll see that you have, okay, cool. And now just go to InDesign.
Okay, perfect.
There
Thank
it
you.
is. All right. Like if it's going to take a long time, I'll stop your share. But if it was just a quick, wait, I'll just show it to you. All right, Brissa, your hand is down. Did you get your question answered?
Oh, it's okay. I have the file.
You found it?
Yes, and there it was like a message and says like update the links, and
Mhm.
I just put that one, and I think it's okay now.
Yeah, but if you open the one that I gave you, you need to now save as and put it in your drive. Okay, otherwise
thank you.
it's always going to be my file, and all that's going to work is the one I'm working on, is the only one that's going to be valid. Okay, so do you know how to do that, or do you need help with that? You're okay with that? All right. Now, the same thing will happen to you, Brissa. If you're opening mine, then it's going to be looking for the files. But in your case, those files are there because I updated them into the hard drive too. But it's not going to be there for your version. So at the end of today, we're going to do this thing where the computer is going to find where all the right files are, and it's going to bring them to you. So I'm going to show you that in a minute. All right. So I just cleared all the feedback. I'm hoping and assuming by now that if anyone else doesn't have the file, they would have spoken up. But if you still have a chance, if you don't have the file, to speak up. I think, Thomas, you showed up after we had already said this. So if you have this file that you did last week, please open it. And if not, I put it in the class downloads, and it's called Copy of Creek Poster Summer. And you might want to open it, download it from there, and open it up in your own computer. If you need a hand, let me know.
Yep, I got it. I just downloaded it on my desktop. Should I put it someplace else?
Well, put it wherever your other class files are, but then you have to go through what I just did with Robert, where when you open it, it's going to say it's missing links because it's been looking for mine. Did you create though? Because he had already created them last week. I'm not sure. Did you create
No,
No.
No, I just downloaded yours.
Okay, so then let me go ahead and give you that.
Right.
In the class files, you will see, let me see, let's go to Creek.
So I have downloaded yours to my desktop and opened it. Do I need
Okay.
to save as someplace else?
No, what you
No.
need to, well, you can drag it to a whatever spot you have the rest of your class files, but you don't necessarily need to save as.
Would I put it in Bridge?
No, I keep wanting to be clear about Bridge. Let me go back to Bridge. Bridge is not something you put into something. Someone also said that in the notes, I think, Robert, you wrote, put it in Bridge. You don't put anything in Bridge. Bridge is just like your Finder. You put your files in whatever folder you want, in whatever place you want in your computer. And then in Bridge, you go to that folder and you look for it, right? So it's not like you put anything in Bridge.
Okay.
You would never put something in
All right.
Bridge. You would put it in your documents folder and go find it there. You would put it in your downloads. You would put it on your desktop, click on desktop, and there it would be, right? So
Okay.
Bridge just, you direct towards wherever you chose to put that folder. So if you put it on your desktop, go it there. I would recommend putting it in the same folder with all the other class files so that they're all, ready together. Okay, and then you might need, you're going to download one more then from the handouts. You need to download Creek Poster Ready.psd because that's the one that I'm using as the link. And then put that one in the same folder that you've put the one that you just downloaded, okay?
All right.
So you need Creek Poster Ready, and then you needed the InDesign Creek Poster Summer, which is copy of Creek Poster Summer. So these are the two files you need, the two that have the fiery red sky.
I'm sorry,
All right.
what is the first one? The second one is copy of. What is the first one?
Creek Poster Ready.psd. Okay, because that's the link that we have linked. That's the file that we have linked. So again, if you look at Bridge, it's the only two that I'm showing right now that have the red sky. One is the InDesign, and then one is the link, the PSD that we're linking into the InDesign. All right, so guys, for those of you who were here a little bit earlier, I showed you how to make a quick copy. Since some of you did and some of you didn't get it, just those of you who made it, go ahead and select it and delete it right now. And then let's keep moving forward with what I was teaching you the other day, which is I was showing you on this little side version, I was showing you difference between the black selection tool. And if you hover over this one, it's called the selection tool. And the shortcut for it is a letter V. And then if you head over to this bottom one, the white one, it's called the direct selection tool. And the shortcut for it is a letter A. For those of you who know Illustrator, this is identical to the way it works in Illustrator, okay? So that's the black selection tool. The white selection tool is called the selection or the direct selection. All right. Now, as a review, what did the black one do? This we did just at the very end, and some of you might have had to sign out early. What does the black arrow tool do?
It creates a frame.
Doesn't create, but allows me to manipulate the frame.
Okay.
Okay, which is great. Yeah, so it's about the frame. With the frame, we mean this thing that holds the image. So if this were, if this were a photograph that you printed, you know, on your printer, or that you picked up from Costco, you printed Costco, whatever, you would put it inside of a frame. So this blue lines with little handles, that's the frame. And I can make the frame bigger, but it doesn't affect my photo, or let's say the content of the frame. Okay, so I can make my frame bigger, or I can make it smaller, and I'm gonna see only that top left little tree. But the content has not been modified. Is everyone pretty clear about that? This is what we did at the very end of last week. I always say last week, last class. And I want to be sure that everyone can do that. Okay, so if you make it bigger and wider, you leave the content just sitting there. And if you make it much tinier, the content hasn't moved, hasn't changed. All right, so now I'm going to make it bigger again, and then try to make it fit. But this is not an easy process to do that, right? It's kind of weird. Wait, did I cut off a little bit of the, I'm not sure if I cut off maybe a little, I'm not getting it right. So let's actually use a little quick button that there is. So make it really big. And then I'm going to show you the quick way to make it get back to the right size, so to say. Okay, so you grab the black selection tool, you grab the edges, the corners, the handles, we call them, okay, of this frame. This is called a frame. Some people also call them a placeholder, but it's like really in InDesign, it's called a frame, but in other documents, it's called a placeholder. And now you head over to this properties panel that we have right here. And here there's a thing called frame fitting, right? And then watch. If I hover over here, it has from fill frame proportionally, fit content proportionally, fit content to frame, or fit frame to content. That's the one we want. We want the frame to go fit itself around the content, okay? So hover over these until you see the different choices. We're going to be using different ones. That's the one we want, fit frame to content. So I'm going to click right there, and boom, the frame fit itself to the content. Did that work for you guys? Right, so we make the frame, the content, the frame be completely weirdly sized, and or even if it's small, like maybe what we did instead was we made the frame too tiny. Hold on, we made the frame maybe too tiny, and I only see a little bit of that water. And I say again, fit frame to content, and it goes ahead. And the photo hasn't changed. All that's changed is that my frame refits itself. Yes, Natalia.
Oh, I have a question. You know, I'm working on my laptop, 13 inches, and I see that you're working on you're working on a Mac computer, and you have a PC window open, and it fills my screen top to bottom, but I can't stretch it wide, so everything is very small.
Okay, so listen, I see that you wrote that question too.
Your
it's no. Stop. It's nothing I can do. It's something you can do. You can go up when I'm filling my screen. You can now go up to your window view, and you can zoom in. You can do 100%, 200%, 150%, whatever it takes to see things bigger.
When okay, so I have just standard side-by-side speaker, so in side-by-side gallery and exit full screen. I'm already like in full screen, so I push your picture all the way to the right, so your face is like an inch. I can, you know, I don't need to look at you.
You don't need to see me at all. No, that's the best. That's the best you can do, is modify from view the size of how you see my screen. Okay. Other than that, I'm approaching now to make it a bit better, but this is the most I can do. I can I'm getting closer to this sample now.
So is it view from Zoom application? Let's see, view options.
I don't remember. If you share your screen, I'll check it on mine. I don't remember what it is, but if someone shares their screen, I'll check what it says. It's on the bar. Someone share their screen. Go ahead, Natalia, or whoever is the fastest, just share your screen, because I need to test how to. Okay, so yeah, right next to where it says you're viewing Natalia Schmidt's screen, there's a view options. And when I go to that, it says fit to window, 50%, 100%, 150, 200, 300, right? So you can click on any of those. Now you are sharing and you're not the one who's seeing
Okay.
it because you are
Because
sharing.
I cannot, yeah,
Now
exactly.
you not see it. So now I'm going to share my screen again. But I just needed to remember because I don't see those tools. Okay. So now you can go to where it says you are viewing the Anamsakyo screen.
Uh-huh.
And then under view options, click on that. And then you can make me bigger or smaller right there.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, I'll play with that. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So, okay. So now that we fit that to screen, let's let's go down to the white arrow tool. Okay. So the white arrow tool, the direct selection tool, last week I told you is one where right now, instead of a blue box around it, we have like a little red box around it. And this, like the edges, it only has 4 little handles on the very corners. It didn't have like the other one that had lots of white handles. If I were to now, this is just me moving the content, put my mouse somewhere in the middle and just drag up and drag up and drag up. What's happening is that I'm moving my content around inside of that little frame. Okay, so now I dragged all the way up, and as you can see, the blue outline, that's my frame, and this reddish brown one is my content. Can you all see that? Okay, so if I move it out of the way, so clearly if I want to make this content smaller, I can, but if I want to make it bigger, I won't see it because anything that's outside of the frame is not going to be visible, right? So let's start by making it smaller. First of all, if I just go ahead and let's move it out a little bit out of the way, just so that for teaching purposes, it's a bit easier. So here's the size of my content, which right now is the same as my frame. Look what happens if I grab the corner and just suddenly do this. What happened to my image? It got smaller and it got squished, distorted, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is Control or Command Z to undo that. And if you're going to make any image that needs to stay proportional smaller, you need to hold down the Shift key the moment you grab that corner, and then you can make it smaller. And now you have a proportional, tiny little image. Okay. I'm going to do Command Z again, and you can also do it in the other direction. I'm going to show you if I hold the bottom and hold down the Shift and move it up here. The problem is that we left it way out there outside of that blue area, which was our frame. So I can just grab it and bring it back in, right? So remember, these are two separate things. And if I put this little small one out there, I won't see it. If I bring it back in, I'll see it. So now I can make it smaller or bigger. Okay. So now what's happening when I'm making this one much smaller or much bigger? I am resizing it, like what we said in Photoshop that you can do to make it smaller, but don't make it bigger. We kind of said that. Well, guess what? As long as it's still within the boundaries of 300%, you're welcome to do that. And if I go to my links and I click on this one that's in the pasteboard and open up my metadata, look what's happening to the effective PPI. Here it says 1658, but it keeps saying actual PPI 300. If I make it really tiny, my effective PPI is 4,000. It's like I'm packing it so tiny. This is now a 1/2 inch image. It's minimal, it's tiny. Okay. And as I make it bigger, that PPI is going to get smaller. But now what if I make it even bigger so that it's bigger than my frame? So that now I see only a little portion of it. Okay. So maybe now I've actually made it much bigger, and now I'm seeing that the PPI is down to 700. The bigger I make it, the nearer to and again, I'm always holding on the Shift key. Bigger I make it, the nearer to this one that I'm making it. Okay, I'm making it bigger and bigger. The nearer to, let me just move this over a little bit. Move this links back over. the nearer to this big one that I make it, the nearer to 300 PPI it's getting. Does that make sense? Because we're making it almost the same size. So the content, as long as it doesn't get bigger than 300 PPI in proportion, I can still do it in here. If I'm going to do any kind of resizing beyond what it came in, beyond the original one, the actual PPI, if I'm going to make this be so big that it's bigger than, here, I'm going to put it maybe over here so we can see it better. Sorry, not there. I need to grab the whole thing and bring it over. But I'm going to make it so big. And now I'm going to go for that. I'm going to make this internal one so big that it's bigger than the one that we have. You can't see it, but I made it much bigger than the window. Then I'm beginning to make it smaller. Effective PPI 2, I'm going smaller than 300. Does that make sense, you guys? What I'm saying? I'm making it bigger inside of InDesign, making it bigger and bigger and bigger. InDesign is more than happy to show that to me, even though I'm only seeing a few little bits of it at a time. But InDesign is very happy to make it bigger for me. But it's beginning to go into effective PPI 199. Basically, if this were to print, it would look horrible, right? So what we're going to say is the rule is don't inside of InDesign do anything beyond the actual PPI. I'm going to go ahead so I could make it as big as I want or as small as I want. But if you're going to do anything else, you need to go and do that all in Photoshop with the resolution thing or something like that. Anyway, so now I'm still moving both separately. And at the end of the class, last week, someone said, well, can you move both at the same time, right? Which is a great question. So now, go ahead, always with the shift key held down, make it a little bit nearer to the size of your frame, just so it's a little bit more handleable. And I'm going to zoom in. And now let's set it back to being the right content within the right frame. So let's go back over here and let's say again, fit frame to content. Yes, Sarah Clark.
Yeah, for some reason, when I'm holding down shift and trying to move the frame to shrink the image, it's just moving the frame. Do you know?
So if you have the black selection tool, then it's gonna just move the frame, right? So you need to have the white selection tool. And then the first time ever, you need to kind of click on the content. And then, because watch, guys, pay attention to what's happening right here. If I'm selecting with the black selection tool, the frame, you see the blue lines that are handles, just shifting to the white selection tool doesn't do much because I'm still holding that frame. You then need to click on the content, and now the content is the one that has the handles. Does that make sense? You kind of need to select the content otherwise. And then when you're holding the content, if I now just shift to the black one, I'm still holding the content. So now I first need to click on the frame and then I can keep working with the frame. So you kind of need to selecting is always the key word here. Select the right thing after you've selected your right tool. Did that work now?
Do I need to have the frame lined up first with the image in order to move
They can be in whatever order you want. As usual, when I get lost in how to answer, I'm going to ask you to share your screen to see what's the actual question. Okay.
Okay, just made it a little bit bigger.
So-
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Whenever you share, we have this issue of the redraw that you had last week. So I'm going to do my best to understand. Go ahead. Tell me what your question is.
So I had my, so it's the black arrow and then I click shift to move it.
No, but the black arrow would only move the frame. So select the frame. Yeah, there we go. Select the white selection tool to get the content. There you go. Now grab that little handle there, hold on the shift, and now you'll make the content get smaller.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So remember, the black one is for the frame, the white one is for the content. Black one for
Okay.
frame, white one for content.
Okay, gotcha. Thank
Right?
you.
Perfect. Joni, you have a question? Joni, your hand is up.
Yeah, okay, so when I had the black selection tool clicked on, and then I was able to just double click inside the image and I could move the inside image.
There's many other ways to make it work, by the
Okay.
way. So yeah, one way, go ahead and try that, you guys. If you have your, and that's that grabber at work, okay? So, and I was just showing you how, basically, let me just share the screen. Over here. Okay, this is my screen now. So this is what Joni said, that, so she had the black selection screen tool selected, which I said is for the frame, right? But remember this little handy grabber that's there? So you don't even need to double click. If you put your mouse inside of the content and move it, the content will move. See, because it's that grabber that's doing it. But this grabber doesn't allow me to grab this and change its size. It all allows me to do is to move it to the right or to the left. But see how there's no little handles here that let me change the size of my content? So it's good for moving, right? Now, if you double click, okay, so if you double click, which is what Joni says, so I was just showing you guys the grabber. But if you instead double click in here, see how now what got handles is the content. So now if you hold the shift, you can move the content in and out. And then if you select again your frame, you can move that in and out. There's just so many different ways to do this. There's like 3 other ways I can think of right now that you can do this. So I'm just trying to make it clear that you have, when you see an image, it's got 2 parts to it. Okay, so a double clicking to make it work versus changing, that's fine. Then you select the frame, or but if you single click, it won't work. Or go back to the white arrow tool, and then that moves that too. Okay, so those are the 2 ways, the 2 right now simplest ways to move one or the other.
And I have
Now-
another question.
Yes.
Well, just, I don't really understand when you said, don't go beyond the number it was originally.
Yeah.
So you have to
So-
remember what the number was originally?
No, you can see it right there. So hold on. I'm going to open up in Photoshop this file. Okay, so I'm opening the file that I created, right?
Mhm.
This file, we all, and just watch this portion, guys, because this is the same for everyone. We all went and opened it up in RAW, did the whole double size, close, double size, close, open it up. So that when we were done, we got near enough to the final size we need. We needed an 8.5 by 11. We needed more than 8.5 by 11. So if you all go in here, you'll see a number similar. Mine seems to have ended a little bit different than yours. But basically, if I look at this Photoshop file, it says that it's 8.62 by 10.667, right? So basically wider than I need, or shorter than I need, or something like that. So we've all got that file kind of near to the right size. And that, oh, and that's at 300 ppi. So we did that the first day that we dealt with all of this, right? We changed its resolution. It came in as a 72 ppi. We changed its resolution to 300. It turned into this really small file. So then we went and upgraded it or double sized it up in RAW. And we ended up with this file, which is almost the right size. So now in InDesign, we placed that file here. And it's showing me the same information. It's showing me that it is at 300. Okay, so I don't have to guess or measure. Here I am. It says actual PPI, and where I'm getting this is from the links panel. And if you don't click on any one of these, you don't get this. So you need to click on one of your copies. And my page 1, which is my real one, it's telling me that it's actual PPI is 300, what we just saw in Photoshop, and affected by 300, because this is one that came in when I just did a single click, it came boom at its full size. So it's giving me that almost filled page. And that's how many pixels it is, 2592 by 3200. If I go to Photoshop and do that image size question, there it is. It's 2592 by 3200. So we're reading the same exact information here as in there. This is that file. But then I created another place where I just created a little small version of it, right? This one, we just did file place, right? And we brought it in and we made it just, let me just bring it in that way. I don't have to remind you guys of it. Share drives. Okay, so we did a file place with this Create poster ready, but instead of just clicking, which is what gave us that, we just did a little tiny version of it. Oh, okay, it needs to be in my fingers. I don't know. I clicked from so many places. Where are you? No, not that one. This one. And then I just did that and dropped it. So this is the same exact file, but imagine the difference between, like someone said this once, and I'm not sure if you'd understand much about perfumes. I don't understand that much, but there's this very watered down perfume, cologne, or there's this tiny little concentrated perfume that's really intensely smelling. That's the most expensive one. They say the same amount of material in this big bottle, which a lot of water, or the little tiny one that's really intense. So it's the same material. We have the same amount of pixels, but in a tiny little bottle, in a tiny little frame. And so if I read over here, it tells me now that, yes, this is 300 PPI. It's got the same amount of pixels, 2592 by 3200, but I have it so tiny that I've basically, to have this file be only like 2 inches wide, which is what I did to it here, or 1.5 inch wide, the PPI basically, if I had 2,500, or let's just say 3,000 pixels spread out over 8.5 inches, I got to 300, but spread out over only 1.5 inches, I end up with 1,300 pixels squished into each one of the inches. Does that make sense? So I'm not guessing. I can see right here that I have squished all my pixels. Okay, let me go to the ruler. See the ruler here up in the side? Let me let Jinsu in here. I have a ruler that's telling me that this is about 2 inches wide. Okay, this is 2 inches. Do you see this, Joni, the ruler that I'm pointing to? 3,
Yes.
4, 5. So this is a 2 inch wide image by, if I put it over here, by 2.5 inch tall. Okay, so if I grab a calculator and I divide 2592 divided by 2 inches, I'm going to get about 1,300 pixels that I've had to put in each one of these inches, versus over here, I have those the same 2,592 inches spread out over 8.5 inches wide, which turns out to be about 300 pixels per inch. Okay, per printed inch. I've put 300 of them here, 300 there, 300 there, 300 there, and I end up with about an 8.5 image. That same image squished down to 2 inches ends up with, oh, let me see, oh, about 1,300 here and about 1,300 there. Okay, I'm not calculating anything. I'm just reading here what it's telling me. So if I want to stretch this one out, I can do that. And now what I'm about to show you guys is how to stretch it out, frame and content. So everyone, if you still don't have one that looks like this, hit the fit frame to content so that your frame will pop back in. If your content is small, if your content is big, then it'll become really big. So go ahead and try to make your content small just for this test. And now to move both at the same time, grab one corner. And if I now, hold on, I'm doing the PC and the Mac. Okay. So if I hold down the control key for the PC or the command key for the Mac, then I'm moving both image. Oh, shoot, I forgot. Let me undo. Control Z, Control C, Control C. You need to hold at the same time the shift, by the way, otherwise you distort it. So go undo 2 or 3 times until you have it in proportion again. Hold down the shift and hold down the control which for Mac people, it becomes a bit of a problem with a shortcut situation because the control key for the Mac people gives us a menu. So for those Mac people on VDI, this shortcut becomes a problem. But anyway, it can kind of work. For everyone else, it'll be fine. So Shift plus Command for the Mac people, Shift plus Control for PC. But for VDI people who have a Mac, Shift Control does that weird thing. So you need to let go of your control, but keep holding your key and then you can still do it. And that moves both frame and content up. And now that my image is becoming, let me see, now it's 4.5 inches big. Now I'm going down to about 600 PPI, 600 of those pixels is having to fit. And I'm using that ruler to kind of guess at that, okay? So now if I grab this corner and keep making this stretch, I have to, VDI doesn't like this shortcut. Tries to. So if anyone who's on VDI on a Mac, we have a bit of a problem with this shortcut, but everyone else should be fine. So if you're on a Mac, start pulling it out just by holding the control and then hold your shift key down and that'll keep it proportional. So now that I have it at 5.5 inches wide, now my effective PPI is 465. So basically I can keep moving it up and down. What I never want to do is move it any bigger than the original image size came in at. Anyway, PPI is hard enough to understand for people who are professionals in the field. So it's hard if this is your first go at it to really get completely clear about it. So let me give you some golden rules. When you bring something into InDesign, okay, I'm gonna get rid of this one. The best thing to do the first time you bring it in is to place it and instead of dragging it out, the first time you place it, just put it where you hope it should go and then just do a single click. And that is 100% for sure what you have as far as size is concerned from Photoshop. This will give you the fullest size it can be at whatever PPI it was set up with. Now, when we first brought this in, I don't know, guys, you remember two classes ago or 3 classes ago, it was set at 72 PPI in Photoshop. So it came in, we dropped it in and it was like 39 inches by 49 inches. And we barely saw 2 trees in here and it was humongous. So we said, oh, we need to go back to Photoshop and bring it down to 300 PPI. And this is what we ended up getting, that tiny one. I don't know if you guys remember that. So the rule of thumb is first single click, see what its real size is, and then see if you need to fix something in Photoshop or not, which is what we did. When you click and drag, you bring it at a fake size, but you could also be fake making it much bigger. Over here, check and see whether you didn't suddenly make it be 100 effective PPI. Just keep an eye on that, that's all, because it won't be enough to print. As long as both of these stay above 250, you're doing good. If not, you need to go into Photoshop and work with your image or get a new image to work with. All right. So the this left one here, we have made bigger or smaller now. Hopefully everyone has been able to make it with its content and frame. Remember, Control if you're on the Mac, Command if you're on the PC, Control, start moving it and then hold down your Shift key to force it to stay proportional, and then we can make it whatever size we want. So if you've practiced that there and it's not working, let me know, because now we're about to go do that over here. On the real one, this is the one that we really truly need to resize. Yeah. So Sarah Patcham. I don't normally say last names, but since I have 2 Sarahs, the other day I answered one Sarah and the other one answered. So I thought, oh, I got to start saying both names. Yes.
I don't understand exactly the purpose of the frame.
you can't have a content without a frame. Like it doesn't, the InDesign needs to hold things inside of frames.
Okay, so the image comes with the frame.
Yeah, like
Every image.
there's a
Okay.
frame that's gonna hold text, a frame is gonna hold an image, a frame is gonna hold a logo. Everything in InDesign needs a
Has a frame.
placeholder, a frame to hold, to exist.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
unless you create it in InDesign, text still needs a frame. But if you create a shape right in there, so say that I were to create a shape right there of something, then that shape that I've created has its own frame, really the bounding box of Illustrator. So it still has a holder, like nothing is loose. Everything needs a holder. It's the way InDesign is made.
Okay, thanks.
You took the Illustrator class, right? You know how in Illustrator, everything is held by a bounding box. So it's just a different name for the same thing. You need
Yeah.
a container to hold the element.
Okay, I didn't take Illustrator, so
Oh,
that's
okay.
it for
All right.
me.
So then this concept is a bit different than Photoshop, where the pixels just are on a layer. But here, all the stuff we put in has to have a holder. It's like a little Tupperware box to carry your piece of cake in. Okay. All right. So thank you for that. I didn't even, that's a kind of question that makes me think, whoa, what did I not say at the beginning? So thank you. Because yeah, it's not a given. Otherwise, what are these things? What are these frames? What are these holders? Okay. So let me how about you give me a yes if you were able to resize this proportionally with the shortcut. Okay, so holding, again, the workaround for VDI people, there's quite a few of you guys on VDI. You first hold the control key down, start pulling, and then hold down the shift. And that keeps it proportional. It's like a step for it to work. Okay, so that's the only, the rest of you probably don't need to do that little trick. All right, so I see a couple of yeses. I'm seeing a no. If you said no, then go ahead and share your screen so that I can help you. All right. Okay, so you are on a Mac. Okay, so put you're on the wrong arrow key. You need to be on the move on the V or black arrow key, everyone. Unless you specifically need to be working only with the content, then you always need to be in the black arrow key. That may be why it wasn't working. Okay, select it first. First, you need to select it. Yeah, there we go. And now go to the corner, hold down your command key. And now hold down your shift at the same time to make sure to keep it proportional. There you go. Okay, try it again before you let go of this. So, but it worked, but now try to one more time just to make sure, because I'm seeing the frame doesn't look like it's sticking to, there we go. Okay, that's, did you make that, you know what, your frame isn't really connecting to your content. So go select it again and then do the fit to frame. That down there in the bottom, frame fitting, the fourth icon in the properties panel. Properties panel on the right side. Yeah, down, one more. Yeah, and the fourth one more there. There we go. Like I could see that the frame and the content weren't exactly right. Now they are. So good.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, anyone else who needs a hand? You're all good? Okay. Brisa, your face is like, not sure here. So do you want to share your screen? I so appreciate seeing your faces. Those of you who show me your expressions, it's like seeing a class, which I know if you're doing well or not, just by your expressions. So go ahead and share your screen. All right, so you, yeah, so click on the gray area, on the gray, hold on. Now you're moving just the content, right? So do Command or Control Z. You need to first click away. There we go. And now grab again. There you go. You were just seeing the red boundary box, which was the content one. Now that you're seeing the blue one, you're fine. Okay, go to the corner. Yep, you got the right tool. No. You got to have the black one. You're fine. Yeah, you're fine with the tool. Go back to the corner of the image that you got to make bigger. Okay, go to the little guy. Yeah. put your mouse against the bottom right corner. No, not in the middle. We're trying to make it bigger from using one of the corners. Yeah, bottom right, top left, it doesn't matter, one corner. Yeah. Now, click on the control key. And now start dragging this shape to make it bigger. And now with your other hand, hit the shift key at the same time. Shift, so it stays proportional. I think it didn't say proportional. Do a Command Z. It might have stayed proportional, but I'm not sure. Go down there, hold down. Yeah, did you hold the shift key? If you didn't hold the shift key, it didn't say proportional. And sometimes it's hard to see. So say Command Z. Yeah, hold down. There, now it's forced. I could tell because of how it opened that Control Z. Okay, hold the shift key and stretch. Shift and control and stretch.
So it's like control or shift, because I'm pressing control.
Both. Shift
Control,
keeps it proportional. Let me explain again, you guys, what each one of those shortcuts does. The control key, or the command for the Mac, moves both frame and content.
Control, okay.
That's what the control key or command key does. The shift key keeps the shape proportional so it doesn't become long and skinny or fat and squished. So they each do a separate thing. Does that make sense? That's why you need both keys. Now there you let go of your shift. There you see the difference? Try it. Try it, guys. Stretch it out without the shift in some weird way like she just did. Make it really short and tall. Like go ahead and do that. Stretch it out like without the, no, now you did it with a shift. And now you did it right. But say in Command Z, and now don't press the shift down. And now don't press the shift and just go down, straight down, straight down. Yeah. Holding down the control. Oh. Go try again. Yeah. Yeah. So see how it moved. That's what I mean by non-proportional. The thing is, and in a landscape, if you move it where you think it would be proportional, it's hard to tell if it really didn't stay proportional. That's why I said just do something really weird like that. But if you hold the shift key, it doesn't let you. It forces it to always be proportional. So then it, if not, if you kind of guesstimate whether it's proportional, you probably will guess wrong. Okay? But by holding the shift key, you are not guessing. You are truly keeping the whole thing intact. I have to say that good job, Risa, I'm going to stop your share. I have to say that in the case of this landscape, it wouldn't really hurt the image too much to not be proportional. So you got to gauge. I got to teach you how to do it because a lot of times it matters very much to stay proportional. If it's a person, the last thing you want is to change the shape of their face, their body. But if it's rocks and trees and you're in a hurry and you don't want to do it, whatever, sure, go ahead and do it non-proportional. Who's going to tell on you? Just be careful that it's not a landmark that people can tell like, oh, it's the Eiffel Tower. I never looked that tall and skinny before. You know, make sure it's like an unrecognizable mountain with an unrecognizable tree. And then, yeah, who's going to tell? But let me share my screen then, because now we're ready to make this photo work. I can't find my share. My share button was hiding. There we go. All right, so now we go to the real thing because it's where everyone said that they were able to do this proportional thing. So I'm going to clear your feedback. And now I go to with the black arrow key. Okay, I click on this guy, which was, I'm going to just get a little bit closer. So it was nicely snapped to my bleed as it should on the top left. So if yours is not yet completely well snapped to the bleed, with your black selection tool, just click somewhere inside, not on the frame, but inside of the image, and then just go like that until you see it getting exactly right. And if you're not sure, when you click away to deselect, you'll see that the red line extends exactly there and there, so it should work. But now we're left with an image that is still, in your case, is a bit too wide and short, in my case, a bit too thin and short, right? So if I now watch, if all I do is hold down the controller, the command key, I can happily distort it to make it fit. which, as I said, in this image is probably not such a bad idea. I'm going to Command Z. But let's be real, as if this mattered and it couldn't be distorted, because for the most part, things can't be distorted. Hold down the bottom corner, hold down your Control and or Command and or Shift, and we need to make it as tall as it needs to be, which means there, okay? But then that's going to leave us with too much image, and that's okay. We'll then reduce the frame size. Okay, so let's do that. Let's make it as big as we can. And remember to hold the command, the shift key, so that it stays proportional. But now at least we have it correct on 3 sizes, but then I have too much here on the right side. Does it never have too much on the right side?
Yes.
If you kept it proportional, you should have too much on the right side. All right, so hopefully everyone did that. Now I'm going to grab the frame and make the frame be the right size, which means I'm going to hide a piece of the image. So I'm going to grab the frame. So that means I'm going to use the black selection tool, grab the frame, make it snap to the bleed. And that means I'm hiding some image. I still have the choice with the grabber or with the white selection tool to move this image to say, well, I'd rather see less of this side than of this side or more. So you can click and drag it to the left and say, well, I'd rather see more of this than of that. You know, you can play around with that, but make sure that you don't lose by moving it over. Now I don't have photo in the bleed. Okay, so we only have a little bit of leeway and we don't have any leeway up on top. So just make sure that you don't end up shifting things around so much that suddenly you're left without image in the bleed. Got it? You need to have image in the bleed. So you can move it around or say, hey, I'm fine. I want to see more tree than waterfall or a creek, or just move it to the left and go, no, I want to see more creek and less water and less tree. So I'm actually moving it over to the edge. All that matters to me is that the bleed line on the outside should be filled with image all the way around. And if I move Command or Control plus to go check my edges, then I'm going to hold down my space bar and check the edges. I should be able to see that the image has that bleed line, the trim line, and the margin line on all the corners. Okay. Sometimes from afar you can't tell, but if you zoom in, you check all your corners and make sure that all the lines are there and everything is good. Now, when you know that you're fine and you've accomplished this and life is good, then please give me a big old green check mark. If you need help and something's not right, give me a big old red X. And then when we're done with this, we're going to take our full first grade. So he can, not first grade, first break. Not first break, break. All right. So, but first let's help everyone. So if you're done, you don't need or anything or have any questions, then go ahead and go on break. I'm going to help the people who have questions. Remember that from questions, a lot is learned too. It might be something that you need. But then when I'm done helping people, then I'm going to call for break. So I'll write the time that we're done with break in the chat when I'm done helping. Okay. So if you want to take off and then come back and check at what time you should be back if you come back during the break. But as I said before, many times you learn from stuff. All right. So Sarah Patchen. You said no. So you want to share your screen? I'm stopping my share. Oh, both Sarahs said no. So, well, I called Sarah Patchen first.
Okay, here's mine. I didn't quite get the steps that you go to. You want, is it shift that I hold down to make it proportional?
Yeah, now hold on. The first thing I want you to do is do a Command or Control 0 because I want to see the top too to make sure that the top is in the right spot. By not seeing the top, I can't really tell that what you're going to do is right. So Control or Command 0 fills your screen and sees both top and bottom. So you're in a Mac, so Command 0. and then
That's
Command
it.
0. Okay. Now, but are you sure? Because it's not, no, click on your image. Command 0 should have shown you the bottom and the top, which is what you had to
Yeah,
scroll
let
to
me-
do.
Let me, let's see. Yeah, none of those pluses or minuses or ones are working. I'm getting a little click.
You're getting like a little click. There's something, are you on Zoom instead or like click? Yeah, now do the Command 0, Control 0.
Zero.
There you go. Yeah,
Okay.
you were like, since when you had to share your screen, you moved to Zoom. Okay, do the, again, Command 0, and then, there we go. Let me see the top. Okay, so what I'm seeing is that you have, I think your frame, click on your image. I think you have a frame that's bigger than your image. So go and do the fit frame to content. So head down to the frame fitting on the, yeah, right there. Not that one, that one. Yeah, there you go. See how that blue snapped to the size of the image now?
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
if you noticed the difference. So now what we're seeing is that on the left side, your image is bigger, which it doesn't, it's fine. It can be on the left side, on the right side. On the left side, your image is outside of the bleed marks.
Yeah.
On the right side, on the other hand, it is on the bleed marks and on the top as well. So that's fine. You can have that be, and then you'll see more of the creek and less of the trees. So as long as one side is along, like on the bleed, two sides have to be on the bleed marks right now, the top and one of the sides. That's good.
Okay.
Now you need to grab the bottom. So in this case, grab the bottom left that's already out of the bleed, not the right, because the right is on the right side. Grab that one. Hold down your command.
Oh,
And
command.
because we're
Okay.
going to move both, and also your shift,
Oh,
both, and then keep moving it until the bottom touches the bleed, which keep going a little bit more. And there, and now let go of your mouse first. Yeah, and then let go. So there you go. Now you've made your image be big enough. It's in fact too big, but at least it's big enough. See how top, right, left, the bleed is covered everywhere.
yep.
So now what you need to do is grab your frame and hide part of this image because it became proportionally too big. So go to the left side of the frame, grab the little handle right there. You're almost got it. Yep. And then snap that to that first red line, which is your bleed line. Bring it down. Just no touching anything. Just move it. Yeah. No, meaning no shortcuts or on the keyboards. We're just making the frame smaller.
So I'm just bringing it in
Yep.
to the bleed line.
Yeah, and it's gonna, you'll see a little snap. There you go. And then let
Yep.
go of your mouse. Perfect. When I
Okay.
say snap, it's a feature of all these programs to snap to a guide. So when you're near enough, it does that little tick and it snaps. And there you go. Now your image. Now I want to look at the bottom and make sure. Yeah, it looks like your bleed bottom. You look at top, bottom, everything is ready to go.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
You are set. All right. The next one was Sarah Clark.
I think watching the other Sarah and you helping the other Sarah, I think it solved mine, but I'll share.
Okay. All right. Share.
Okay. I think
that looks pretty good to me. You looks like you snapped it just fine. So
I
good.
was okay.
Do you still have a question though? Go ahead.
Oh, I think I just wasn't sure if basically the frame is what's the frame of the image, and then the bleed is just showing if the image is outside of the bleed that would be cut off.
Yes, we are going to end up cutting off all the edges, all the image that's in the little 1/8 of an inch bleed area will be cut off by a machine. It will drop and be lost in the bottom of the printer's paper. They're going to sweep it away and trash it.
Okay.
I doubt they'll recycle it. Although, you know, all that recycled paper, you know, all the toilet paper, all the things that say they're made from recycled paper, a lot of that is these cuttings from printing.
Oh,
yeah.
That's nice to know.
Yeah. Just so you guys know. But, you know, we're talking about big presses that process bazillions of newspaper, you
Mhm.
know, like big sizes, not
Yeah.
when you're doing 2 brochures. But yeah, that gets recycled because it's a ton of paper in the end when you cut all this stuff off. All right, Joni, you're red. You're welcome.
Okay.
Share your screen.
I think I got it, but I do have a question. I want you just to,
Yes,
I want you just to look at it.
go ahead, share.
Okay. Oh, did I not share? Shoot. Okay, sorry. Okay. Is that in the way?
Looks like it's fine. Everything looks good. Yeah.
Right. So
looks
what
good.
color is the bleed line?
It's red.
Okay, red is the bleed line and blue is the,
Well, when you said bleed line, I'm saying the lines that are in the document, not the things that hold the frame. The frame is blue as well, but the bleed line right now, it's going to be much easier if I show it on. Okay, go ahead and say create file new. Because now with things on top, say file new. Document. And then just say create, because it's going to create with the same settings as the other one. So over there on the gray outside the white, there's a red line. That's your bleed.
okay.
Then the black line, so to say, that surrounds the separation between the white and the gray, that's the trim. And then inside there's margins, but those margins sometimes look pink, sometimes look, put your hand over the inside, put your mouse inside,
Like
and
it's
those,
kind of
yeah,
purpley. Yeah,
it's kind of
pink.
purpley, but sometimes they look a little bit
Yeah,
bluish.
this
So
one's pink.
yeah, pinkish, you know, so that's the margins.
Okay.
Okay. And then when you have a frame, the frame is blue. And the little content is kind of brown, like it's a little edges, a little bit pinkish brown. They're so thin, it's hard to say, you know, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's their colors. So the
Okay.
content ends up looking a little bit like the bleed, because the bleed is also like red on gray, looks a bit brown, but it's kind of red line.
So the content and the bleed line are on top of each other right now?
No, there's no content here.
Oh, I see. But
This is
but
an
if there-
empty page with nothing in it.
but with the picture that would be red and brown together, is that right?
No, go back to the poster, the create poster one.
Mhm.
And as you can see, you don't see the content line, you only see the holder, which is the frame line. So the only way to see the content line, it would be if you click on the gray to get rid of the selection that you have now. Yeah, and now if
Okay.
you were to click on the white selection tool, you'd get a line. Now click on the trees or something. Yeah, so that line that you're holding on right now,
Okay, yeah. Mhm.
on the left side, you can't distinguish it from the bleed. It looks the same, but go over to the right and see how the content is bigger. See there, that's the content line. So it's a bit browner. The bleed line is red. This one's brown. It's very subtle, the difference, but
So
if
when
you
you
know
say
what you're,
when you say content, even though I thought I moved it in.
you move the frame in, but the content is still there. So there's still photo under there, but since you made the frame smaller, you don't see it. So do me a favor and go back to the black arrow key.
Okay, can I have a question really quick before you say that?
I'm going to show you that. No, I'm answering that question. So one at a time. Click on that one, go back and now select again.
Just in here?
Just, yeah. First clear your selection by clicking on some gray thing. Okay, now select that again. Okay, so now put your mouse on the middle of those pink trees where there's that little white handle on that side. Yeah, pull it open a little bit and you'll see that there's still more trees there. See?
Okay, so I am taking away some of it.
Keep pulling open.
Yeah.
And now you've passed, and now if you keep pulling open, there's no more trees. So all that bit of pink tree, bigger than the bleed, which do you see the bleed line there on the left? Move in with your mouse.
Yeah, right there.
That's the bleed line. So all this stuff is going to get cut off.
Okay.
Not going to be in there. You're just losing it.
And there's
Because
no
the photograph was not the same proportion as the poster. That's all it is. And so you just need to crop a piece of it, and this is what we're cropping.
Okay. And if you don't want to crop it, then you would have to
you'd have to make a poster that's of a different size.
Yeah, or I could move a little bit out on the left and a little bit in on the right, so it's not.
No, you can, first of all, the image can't be any bigger than the bleed line. So bring that back into the bleed line.
Okay,
Grab that in there, bring it back into the bleed. Boom. Now what you can do is you can move the content.
yes,
So on the left side, there's no extra content, but on the right side, you have that, you know, like a half an inch of extra content. So if you move the frame, you're not gonna move the content, so that's not gonna help. You're gonna have an empty, that'll
Okay.
be empty.
Uh-huh.
So put your hand in that little grabber, or like you did said
yeah,
before,
yeah. Mhm.
double click, and then move it to the left a little bit and see how you're moving the content around a little bit.
Yes,
You can
okay.
choose, so you can choose whether what you want is to see all of the water and less
Yeah.
of the trees. and
Because
maybe
I'd like to see the trunk of the tree and not
yeah,
just
the trunk, there you go. So there you made a good choice, but you
Uh-huh.
were able to make it yourself. But the bleed,
Yeah.
you can't, the image can't be any bigger than the bleed, but you can move the content around, which is what you
Perfect.
just did.
Okay, great.
Which is
Thank
the
you.
whole point of all this class, is to make clear that you guys aren't stuck with the frame or the bleed. There's two things, and you can make content independently from frame, which is what you just did, and that's perfect.
Mhm. Great, thank you.
All right. Okay, looks like I've answered every question, so let's take our break. It's 7:06, so we're gonna have a break until 7. It's already 7:07, so it's still 7:17 p.m. Did I write that? Yeah. Okay, so see you guys in 10 minutes, okay? All right, guys. 7:17. Time for break to be over. Right. Come on back as you hear my dulcet tones. The Pied Piper of the computer classes is saying, come back, follow the class. All right, so some of you guys are there, some of you are trundling back. Give me a little sign of life, those of you who don't share your screens, so that I know you're back. And here we go. Oh, little heart. I like that. Okay. So share my screen. Okay. So now everyone should have an image that looks, I'm going to go ahead and command minus a little bit. So we still have one little thing on the side, which by the way, you probably have it on the right. I moved it over to the left because I was showing a certain panel. It made a bit more sense to have it there when I was showing the links. And then I made another one, but most of you guys just have two. Now I'm going to select this one, open the links panel, and make sure I'm selecting the one that's on page 1. And let's head down here and see what happened.
Diana, can you please share your screen?
I am. Oh, am I sharing the wrong one then?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, there you go. How about that one? Is that the right one? Yeah. So here we go. I was saying that I've selected this pin, the one that we got to the right size without distortion. We filled the frame, and how we did that, what we ended up doing is that we ended up making the photo a little bit bigger than it was before. So we need to double check if we still have a good, resolution here. And we went from 300 to 284. And as long as it's above 250, we're still fine. Okay. So it's like, all right, no problem. But just check it. What if you had to stretch it so much that you went under 250? Then you're like, it's not going to work. Okay. So as you saw, a little adjustment is fine. For the most part, any adjustment is probably going to work better if you go back to Photoshop and do it there to make sure it's got the best. Photoshop does the interpolation of images much better than InDesign or Illustrator. So photos that are supposed to be worked in raster programs should be worked in raster programs, except for these little minor adjustments that we had to make. Now, what we do have is a bizarre set of colors still, right? At least that's where I left mine yesterday, was in this mode where it was like not the right color. So let's go really quickly to Photoshop. And in this case, all you need to do is turn off the eyeball on that layer that we played around with and save the file again. Now, what I'm going to do too is say that there were other ways that we could have fixed this. So there's, hold on. I was using the Mac shortcut as usual instead of the PC. And whenever I do that, I have to think for a second why it's not working. We could have fixed that in Photoshop. We could have resized this in Photoshop. We could have done so much, things can be done in different places, but I'm trying to show you a little bit the basics of each one. Now, does everyone have this file opened in Photoshop? And if you don't, remember how to make sure that it's the right one is if you go here and you hit edit and it opens itself in Photoshop, right? So if you didn't yet open it in Photoshop, select the one from page 1, click this little pencil, and it'll kick it to open up in Photoshop, okay? So what I wanted to say is that there's a ton of stuff we could have done here, as we did that one kind of obvious but ridiculous. It really helps you guys see the big difference when you change the color, but we probably wouldn't have wanted to really change the color that way. But we could have decided that we didn't want this little stick sticking in, or we wanted, as I said before, to put a little, a little airplane or a bird flying in the sky. All of that would have had to be done here. Right now, we're not going to do any of that. We're just going to say save because we made a change, right? We turned off this eyeball. So make sure to say Command or Control S or File, Save. And then head back here. We get all our little warning signs. And if you double click on the one here, it updates all three because that one is, it shows me that it's there 3 times. Okay. You probably only have 2 versions of it, but all you need to do is double click there once. Otherwise you would have had to double click there and there and there, which is fine too. But just by double clicking at the top, you get taken care of all of the instances of this photo. Now we don't really need all these other instances of this photo. So this is a good time to delete them. Make sure you have the selection tool up there and hit delete if you have a ton of others. Because one thing you don't want is to leave a ton of stuff lying around the pasteboard once you're set and once you have the image that you want. Now, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these 2. But another thing I'm going to do, let me see what time it is. I might want to use this again, remember, because this is going to be a little poster, but I might want to use this image later for a web page or for a social media spot or something. And so say that maybe I did do a lot of work with it in Photoshop and I just want to have it ready to go. And I want to maybe put it in my libraries. Remember we used the libraries the first day, or I don't know which day anymore. So I'm going to go over to my libraries and I just clicked on libraries. And it's going to take a little bit of time to I don't know why it got so big when I clicked on libraries, but it did. And over here, if you took that class, if you were here the day that we did that class, we already created a little library called Digital Design Techniques. Now, I had one that I have images from the past, but I'm pretty sure that I had us make one for this group, right? Did we do that? Because yeah, okay. So I see Christian saying hi. If you clicked on libraries and you don't see anything there that says Digital Design, if it still has this like image saying start here or something like that, then click over there or click here under create new library and call it Digital Design Techniques and say okay. But if you have it, then just click on Digital Design Techniques. And this is a sample from the past, from another class and stuff that we had uploaded. Now we want this photo to go up there. So we're going to put our mouse, again, selection tool, the black selection tool, because you want the whole thing to go in there. Put your mouse not on the grabber, but somewhere on anywhere other than the grabber being that little donut circle in the middle, and then just drag it like that into this area. You see it says a plus sign. When I let go, it's going to upload itself up into the cloud library. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to the properties panel so that it doesn't stay so huge, and it's there for whenever I want to work with it. All right. Yes, Sarah Clark. Sarah with an H.
To get to where we are now, did you just remove the edited layer of the photo?
The what?
The
in Photoshop?
Uh-huh.
I didn't remove it. I turned off the eyeball.
Oh, okay.
Now, if I knew that I would never want those colors again, I could have deleted it, thrown it away. But I'm showing you, what if this was a valid thing, so you don't have to throw it away. If I truly am done with this image and I'll never use it, I should throw it away, save the file without that. But just to see the flexibility of a non-destructive modification, all I need to do is turn the eyeball off. I do need to save again because the latest save version is the one that updates. And then when I go over here, I'll have all the warning signs and I'll just double click to get rid of the warning signs, and then I'll have no errors again. The link will be complete.
Okay.
Is that working?
This is for Creek Poster Summer 2022, right?
Are you using my file or yours?
I think yours,
because if you're, well, go ahead and share your screen, because if you're using my file, like the one I shared today, the copy of,
Mhm.
go ahead and share your screen. Then you might have problem with finding the link to it. So where are we? Can you open the links? So you have two different ones with two different names. You guys, can you see? It's a little bit hard to see because it's so close. But can you see that in her panel, one is called Creek Poster Ready and one is Creek Poster Altered Hue.psd or something like that. She has two different files there. Can you tell? The one that's in the pasteboard is a Creek Poster Ready, and the one that's in the center of her page is the one that's Creek Poster Altered Hue, whatever, right? So now, can you tell me which one did you alter in Photoshop?
Oh, good question.
Because it looks to me that you were working in Photoshop on that one.
Yeah. This
So,
one, yeah.
So guys, do you see the importance of making sure that the file you're working on is the one that you've opened in Photoshop? She did work on one of the two, but they weren't. She didn't have copies of the same file like I did. She had two different ones up here. So when you have two different files, you end up in that problem. So now go back to the links. Click on the one that's still purple. And then go to that little Apple pencil icon, not Apple, I don't know, the pencil icon. Click on that and let's have that one. Yeah, edit original. And let's see if that opens up in Photoshop. Click on that. And then let's head over to your Photoshop. And let's hope you have that. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's that. There it is in Photoshop. There it is. Okay. So it looks like you had both open, and this is the one that is the one that's linked in the actual document. So you can head down to the layers and turn off the eyeball.
For this one?
Yep. And then save the file. And we wouldn't have noticed, by the way, that it was the wrong file. In her case, it wasn't missing. She just has two files and both were correct, but we wouldn't have noticed unless we had given it that weird color. So sometimes it's a good fail safe to make sure you have the right file to do that, which I taught you as a way to suddenly see it, because you can, is this the right one? Let me make a weird change on it and update. And if not, something's wrong here. Because now you go back, if you go back to InDesign now, you'll see that they both look good. In your case, it updated it for you. It didn't need, sometimes it does. Sometimes when you first open it, it updates it for you. Once you get more changes, then you need to update by hand. Okay.
Okay.
So now there it is. You've got an updated. Now we need only one of these to be the one that's gonna be there. You don't want two different files. So I would say go and select that one on the side and get rid of it. Okay. Now stop for a minute. Did you guys see what she did? I was about to stop her, that she was too fast at deleting, but did you guys pay attention to what happened? Go ahead and do Control Z so that it comes back in. Watch. But I said, go ahead and get rid of it. So she selected it, but look what happened. I would have never known had I not been watching. But when she selected it from that grabber, that middle. So what did she delete? The content. What's left over is
The frame.
the frame. Okay. So these are two separate things. Go ahead and do Control Z. And now select it, but not from the content. So yeah, so in your case, since you had selected the content last, it's still there. So click on some gray area and select it again. Just because I can see, because of the color of the border, I could say it was the content. So now, other than if the only time that this works, like I don't like the grabber, and in my personal InDesign, I just turned the option of the grabber off because it does these weird things. Some people love it because they don't have to change to the white selection tool, whatever. But the thing is, never select from the center of an image in InDesign if you don't want the grabber to do weird things. So you can click on anywhere else in that image except for the center, and hit the delete key and the whole thing will delete. It'll delete frame. And when you delete the frame, the content can be there. Because, remember Sarah's question, why is there a frame? The frame holds a stop. So if you get rid of the frame, the content goes with it because content can't hang out on its own. But if you delete the content only, the frame's like, hey, put something else in me. I'm happy to be here. The frame stays. Okay.
Okay.
So the only place you didn't have to click was in the middle, but it's the most logical thing our brain does. It goes to the middle, which is what you did. And thus only the content got selected because of that little donut shape, which is called the grabber, which then selected only the content. Okay, I'm glad you did it in front of me because I was able to show everyone. Otherwise, it's the kind of stuff that doesn't happen. All right, perfect.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so guys, let's put some good. Joni, your hand is up.
Yes, I have a question. Can I just show you what, I'm not
Yeah.
sure I did what you said to do, so.
Go ahead and share.
Sorry, just,
That's okay. So guys, meanwhile, those of you who have done this, please do a screenshot of your image with the photo that's perfectly fitting the correct size, the bleed, do a little screenshot of what you've done up until now and have that be one of the possible things that you'll post today. There's more we're going to do to it, but we're finally ready. Okay, so what is it that you're asking, Joni?
okay, so
You got the is it about the libraries? No.
it's about this artwork. I only had one thing showing like that. Is
Yeah, which is something you created in Illustrator. We put that in there last week. So now go grab
already
this
did it, already-
photo.
Grab this photo,
Yeah,
just click on it.
click on it to have it selected. Yeah, and now drag it into that gray area under the artwork. And you need
Oh.
to, it needs to have a plus sign on your mouse. So keep drag it. Yeah,
Okay.
but you let go. No, you need to wait and, okay,
Okay.
grab it and don't let go. Grab it, drag it over. Oh, I guess it worked. It worked. There it is. It appeared.
Appeared,
Now
yeah.
the control Z though, because you didn't drop it in the right place. So control,
Okay.
there we go. So there it is. And now you
Oh,
got
no.
another, you left another one there. So delete. So each time you did it, it was just taking a while to
Yeah.
redo it. So just hit the delete key.
So take that one away, delete, okay. What about this one?
That's fine. It stays in our libraries for when we do another project with it.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. That's where we are now then?
Now, yeah, I was just helping different loose questions, but yeah. So now we're ready to continue. All right. Let's head back to my screen share. Here we go. And screen share. And here we go. All right, so we are ready now to create something else with, not create something, to bring in the next step, which is we're going to do some text and we're going to bring in some something, a logo from Illustrator. So first let's work a little bit with, let me see, what time is it? Let's go and instead of embarking on the whole text conversation, let's just work a little bit with Illustrator to create a little logo here. So first of all, I have Photoshop open. I'm happy my poster is ready. I'm not going to need Photoshop anymore. And we don't want to have everything open that we don't need open. So we can close Photoshop. So I'm going to first close the file. It's the cleanest way. And you save any changes, I'll say yes. Now, if I made any changes, InDesign is going to need to update again if I saved after it's been brought in. And then for PC people on the far right, you can go over here and see the Photoshop and close it. For Mac people, you go to the word Photoshop and you say, and you quit from the word Photoshop. Let's get rid of Photoshop just so we don't stress the system. But we're going to need Illustrator. So now let's go ahead and open Illustrator. So for BDI people or Mac PC people would go down to this little Windows area. And here's Adobe Illustrator and get that one to open up. Now notice that in InDesign, I've got a symbol saying needs to be updated. And why is that? I just explained it, but does anyone catch it? Why is my InDesign showing me? I've already updated it from the time that I changed it. Okay, so let me tell you the answer to the question that I'm having. I had already done my updates and everything was looking good. Now I have again one error and an update because when I went to close Photoshop, I guess I had turned the eyeball on and off one more time to show that to someone. That's a change in Photoshop. And when I went to close it, Photoshop want to save. So it made me say nothing physically changed, but Photoshop saved again. Even though nothing changed, turning eyeball on and off, that's a change for Photoshop. So when I saved it, InDesign goes, oh, you made a change. So again, I need to update. Does that make sense? Even if really there was no change, there is a change as far as design is concerned, because the one that it had here was saved maybe at 10 minutes or 10 seconds before this version. So now I need to double click again. And so I'm just saying, in case you say that change and you go, where did that come from? It's because we saved again right before we closed Photoshop. Okay. All right. So now Illustrator is open. Is your Illustrator open? Okay. All right. So now we're going to create a, let me see. Hold on, in Bridge. Let me see in Bridge. We're going to create a, okay, go back to Bridge. We're going to create a little logo. Once again, as I said, this class is not the one where I teach you how to use Illustrator all the way through. This is where I teach you how to combine all of these programs and what each one does. So we're going to use something that's already half made. We're going to change it a little bit. So down here, you'll see that we have at the very bottom, we have something that says turn. It's technically it's a logo, but is that an Illustrator file? No.
No,
It's
it's a JPEG, so it's a photo.
It's a JPEG. What do you guys think about a logo made in a JPEG format?
Pixels,
Pixels.
raster image.
It's a raster image, which means this is a really bad idea. This is a no-no. Okay. Like if you guys have a logo, I'm going to just select it and hit my space bar to see it a little bit bigger. It doesn't get that much bigger because it's not too big. Let me just stretch it out a little bit with my fingers here. If this is just because I'm forcing it to be big, those images aren't there. But if this is a raster image, these straight lines and these curves will never be exact and sharp and good, right? So many, many, many times you ask for the client, the people who have a logo for their business to give you their logo, and they give you a raster file. And you go, this doesn't work. I need the non-raster file. They look at you like they've never heard the difference. And either they lost it, B, it was done 20 years ago and they have no idea where it is, or it was done 2 years ago, 5 years ago, but the designer who did it for them left the job, whatever. They have no idea where their real logo is. Yes, Christian, who's in the business here, is like, yeah, she knows exactly what I'm talking about. Or they had a designer who kind of cheated them and gave them the final files, but they wanted to be hired again to do any changes or whatever. So they never give them the real file. The real file you need is the Illustrator stuff. But here we're stuck with a logo that is not the one that we need. So what you can do is go, well, swallow my pride. This has to be done in 2 seconds and it's just going to be on the internet. It's going to be tiny. We'll use it. That's probably the worst case scenario. Sometimes you have to just do what you can, or you can recreate it in Illustrator by tracing it in. This is not ideal because truly when you trace it in, you're going to modify it from what is originally. It's not going to be perfect. But if the real Illustrator or SVG or vector file does not exist, like the company searches everything and goes, it's gone, then you have to recreate it. Maybe you can charge for recreating it. I don't know. It's up to you, but you need to have it as a vector file. Okay. Same here. I have an SPCC logo. This one was a JPEG. This one is a PNG. A PNG is one tiny step better in this case than this one. Not much better, but a little bit better in the sense that this one already has transparency. So it's a floating SBCC over transparent background. So you have the shape kind of cut out, but it's still, PNG is still a raster file. So it's still, it's a tad, slightly tad better, but both of these are not the right way to have a logo. But you can't be recreating logos easily. It's not like you recreate the logos to look identical. So you first need to do all your best, your best to try to get it to be an actual raster file that you're going to use. Now, then we have, you guys remember this story that happened some years ago? Anyway, I got this, if you didn't follow the story, some years ago, I don't know, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, maybe during the pandemic, I don't know. This kid really, he didn't have, his parents didn't have the money to buy him the real t-shirt of the University of Tennessee. He was a fan of, I guess, their football team. I don't know. And so he drew this, and it was school day. You had to dress up as your favorite team or something like that. And so he stuck his t-shirt to his thing and went to school that way. And poor kid, he got really bullied because his family didn't have the money to buy the right thing. And somehow, poor kid, he cried, he was sent home. Somehow the University of Tennessee found out. They picked his drawing up. They reached out to the kid. They picked his drawing up. Did this thing that we're going to do, which is basically traced this document, this little thing, put it on this teacher's, made a fundraiser, made so much money, gave the kid all the stuff. He looked so good. I mean, it was this beautiful story, right? But this is the logo. This is an exact trace of this kid's artwork that they turned into a logo. And then they did this whole thing for the school and anti-bullying. And I loved that story. That is basically a hand-drawn image on a piece of paper. And they traced it in Illustrator and created this identical thing, right? So that's what we call tracing, or image trace, or live trace. Okay, so that is the tool that we're going to use right now. I wish I had a better, this is all we have of that, so we're not going to actually use that. You really need the original thing to create that, but we're going to use one of these two that are just pixel based, right? In order to make it work. So imagine that this was a scan, or that piece of paper that that kid did, or a drawing that one of us created. And so it's a JPEG, or it's a PNG, it's a raster. And this would have been that, because to turn it into something that, to turn this one, right, into something that could be used, they had to scan that piece of paper or photograph it well, if they flattened it, or I don't know how they did it. And thus they would have ended up with a pixel based file. Okay, then you can vectorize it. So the process is exactly the same. So with Adobe Illustrator opened up, we're going to say create new. Now, you know how careful I was in InDesign to tell you what size are we going to do this, what shape is going to be, what size is going to print. In Illustrator, in Photoshop, let's get the resolution right. There's so much going on around Photoshop and size. It's so important. When you get to vector, it doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter what size you made this document, but make it something that makes sense to you. But even if you make it postage type stamp tiny, you can then still make it huge, like to fit the side of the building. But ideally, you want to be able to print it out and look at it and see how it feels. And so, I'd say like what we start with is like letter size is the default. What you do want to make sure you have up here is a choices set for print. Again, why? Because it's the one that's going to need the most. And by having it set with that, you start from a good spot. As long as it's ready and to go for print, then you can then use it for web or print or other stuff while you modify some stuff. So I'm going to start with print. The default thing that comes up is letter. I'm going to go ahead and change this to inches, and then I'm going to, let's start with 8.5 by 11, but let's move it sideways. So we click the orientation here and it ends up being 11 by 8.5. We don't need margins, bleed, anything, because we're not going to print this. This is just creation of a logo. So we're going to say create, we're ready to go. But by the way, if you did need to print this because you're working with Illustrator, you could go over here and you would have had the same choices of bleed and all that kind of stuff. See, there they are, but we don't need them. Be aware though, yeah, that down here where it says advanced options, by choosing print, this document is going to be a CMYK color document, meaning it's ready for print. That doesn't mean that you can't, put it on the web or stuff, but in this document, if I were to print it, would be ready for print. Then say create. And so all we did was change it from, landscape from portrait to landscape. And then we said create. And here we go. Why is it taking so long to create? It's a simple file. I think there's a little glitch there because it's jumping up and down. Hello. There it is. Okay, so we left this with you guys. We used this a week ago, I believe, when we first brought some stuff in. We did it through Illustrator. So if we have this links panel, we're gonna need it right now. So you can trim that off. And what we're gonna do here is we're going to, kind of like we did it in design, we're gonna place, and we're gonna go choose that logo, the turn upside down logo. I mean, we can choose either one, but let's go for the turn one. So first of all, let's save this file. So we're going to say file save so that we can have our own version of this. And I'm going to put it in the My Drive Digital Design Techniques class. And we're going to call this one, let's call it logo. And then maybe for poster, I mean, you can call it whatever you want, but call it logo for poster, and then we're going to say save. And we're going to, we don't need to change anything. By default, it'll try to save as an Illustrator file, AI, and that's what we want. We'll say save. It's asking me what version. If you guys are at home, you're working probably with 2022. School, we still have 2020. That's okay. You want to keep it at that. Now, remember what I said. If you're working with someone else, like if you guys at home who are with 2022 were to give me this file and I'm working in VDI and I have 2020, I wouldn't be able to open it. So then you'd have to go to your version, that's 2022, click on here and say, save it for an older version. You know what I mean? To give it to me who I'm working in 2020. So people who collaborate with others, you need to make sure that you have compatible versions. Since I happen in a team or stuff like that, you need to make sure that everyone is compatible. Okay, so there's my logo for Poster AI. Now, I'm not going to start from scratch to create it. I'm going to start from a sketch. And in this case, instead of a sketch, we're going to use this PNG. So we're going to say file place. Just like we did in InDesign. This is one of the places where the shortcuts are different. And in InDesign, the Command D is file place and Illustrator is Shift Control P. So anyway, all that matters is it's still file place, but the shortcut changes. I'm going to head over to the class files, Photoshop, shared drive, design techniques, shared drive, download class files, and kind of all the way at the bottom because it's called turn. I'm going to select the turn.jpg. Again, I'm not opening it directly in Photoshop as a vector file because it's not a vector file. That's why I need to place it. Okay, because it's not, JPEG is not a native format to Illustrator. So I have to bring it in. I'm going to say file place. Just like before, there's just like in InDesign, here's my little place thing. And remember the difference if I click and drag or if I just simply click, what's going to happen is that I simply click, it's going to draw itself out in whatever its size was. And we didn't check in Bridge to see how big this is. So this is what I mean about if you didn't check or if you didn't use Bridge and you don't know how big it is, a good way to find out how big it is to just simply click. In InDesign, that works. It goes outside of the bounds. If I just simply click in here, Oh, it's smaller, so it doesn't make a difference, but it had been bigger. Many times it just sits itself inside of the boundaries of the artboard. But it was smaller, so there it is. That's good enough. Now, it's still got this box and this X. If I click away, it'll be gone. But when I select it, it has this kind of X in front of it because it's telling me this guy's kind of like a visitor to Illustrator. It's a foreign element. It's a JPEG. If this were an element that is belonging to Illustrator, I'm going to make a little box here with a color, and I select it, cancel, then it doesn't then have that little X. That's an actual Illustrator vector file. But the fact that when I selected it have this X, it's letting me know this is not a vector file. You can't do much with me. You can just put me there, but that's all you can do at this point, right? Okay, so we have okay, so we need to do a live trace or an image trace. Some people still call it live trace, some people call it image trace. So it's a little bit confusing because people don't know where to find the command to do that, but it's known as image trace. People call it live trace, and then you go looking everywhere for live trace, it's nowhere there. It's image trace. So if you go to image trace and go, there it is. There's it is under image trace. Or if you select it, remember our properties panel, give us down here all the what can we do with this? And what the choices are is there's image trace. Okay, so that's the name that we need to do. And what Illustrator is going to do, it's going to try to create and make this look like it is, but turn it into a vector file. Now I want you guys to put that a little bit to one side, go back to Bridge, and I want to show you the image trace with a couple of different files, just so you understand that just because it's a simple photo does not mean it's the only kind of thing that can be traced. So I have some other photos here, but I don't want it, this is a very high res photo and it will take a long time to do, but this is these two are very small photos. So we can do it with one of those. This one has more color. Let's do it with this one, okay? So again, here I'm seeing it, I'm choosing it, but I don't open it from here in Illustrator because it's a JPEG. You can't open, so to say here in Illustrator, if you double click. That said, if you right click and it gives you choices, it might give you the choice to open with Illustrator, see? So let's see what happens because we already know about placing a file, right? I could have just gone and placed it, which is what I just told you to do. But if you do have a JPEG, can you open it in Illustrator? Well, let's see what happens. So right click, Adobe Illustrator. Oh, I guess I have Adobe Illustrator comes in version 2021. I thought it was only 2020 that it was showing me. Okay, that's because when I saved it said that. Okay, open with Adobe Illustrator 2021. And it did open. And I'm going to go ahead and command or control minus, minus, minus. And in my case, I have no way right now to know how big this is, how big this isn't. I don't even know how big. I can see there's an artboard. See that line there? That's the artboard. This is the image that just came in. Okay. But having no rulers turned on, I don't know if this is 1 by 1 or 20 by 50. I have zero idea, right? So I like to work in Illustrator and InDesign always with my rulers turned on. Shortcut's always the same. If you never remember the shortcut, it's always under View. You can go to View Rulers, or it's always Command R, Control R, Show Rulers. So now I can go, okay, phew, yeah, I got an idea that this is, all right, so there's a 0 over there. This measurement starts at 0 in the artboard, and the artboard looks like it's 8.5. Oh, by 11 looks like, yeah, okay. Remember what I said about the documents that opened the same way that the basic one was the last one that you opened. The last one that we made was an 8.5 by 11 sideways. So that artboard here, that page, the holder, is 8.5 by 11. Because every time that Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign do something, they do it the same way you last left it. And this is the last size we created, right? Now that means that this photo dropped in at a much bigger size. So it's, I don't know, 16 by 20 or something like that. Now this is something that had I placed it, I could have controlled that with a click and drag and made it smaller, right? But I'm going to go ahead and make it smaller now. Watch what I'm going to do. Is this the right thing to do?
Now you need to hold shift down.
Thank you. Hold the shift, always hold the shift. And then I can move it back in to the artboard, and that's about the size. Now, notice that the file still says JPEG, although we know that in Illustrator it really can't be a JPEG, but it gave it kind of like a name. Let's copy this thing, Control C, Command C, or VDI missed me do that. Go ahead and Control C, Command C, and let's go to the file that we had open, logo for poster, and paste it and put it in here. Okay, Control or Command paste. Hello. Copy and paste. Why is it not pasting? Is it not pasting for you guys either? Maybe because it's this placed image.
It pasted in mine.
Yeah, this might be a VDI thing. Okay, so if for you it's not pasting, like it isn't for me, let me see if it lets me do the thing it does for Photoshop. No, it won't. In Photoshop, you can move it that way. It's not pasting for me. So I'm going to go ahead and in the right file, which is the one where I want it to end up, I'm going to go ahead and place it in here again. I don't know why it's not paid. VDI has a couple of things sometimes that are kind of quirky, and it's just not. Let me see if it's not, maybe it's just not responding to my shortcut. Which it could be sometimes. No, it's just not there. Okay, so I'm going to close that one anyway. Save changes, I'm going to say no. And because I can't copy paste, I'm just going to say file place into this one as well. What was the name of the file? Kettle. High pass old kettle. So if it didn't copy paste for you, let's just go do the good old paste. And then this one, I'm going to click and drag to make it be about yay big. So for those of you who brought it in from the other side and it was still too big, just make it small. So basically we have two examples that we're going to do live trace on. A full-on image with tons of color, and then something that we want to turn into a logo. All right, give me a yes when you're ready. All right. The most valuable is if you're not ready to give me a no, because I know you need help. But if I don't see a no, which I don't see any, that doesn't mean that everyone has answered, but I'm going to trust that you're doing it or you're on your way. Let's do a live trace. Okay. The select the image that we're going to live trace has to be selected first. You can't do both at the same time. These are two separate images. You can't trace them at the same time. You just select the one that you want to trace. So let's start by selecting the kettle, the color one. And let's just do an image trace. Now, there's much more to image tracing than this little button, but one option is to first image trace it and then jiggle things around after. So let's click on image trace, and it's going to give me some choices. And these choices aren't about what it is. It's not that it is a photo or that it is a logo. It's what I want to turn it into. So do I want to turn this into a black and white logo? Do you think this will make for a good logo? I'm making all kinds of faces. I don't know if you guys see, but yeah, the answer is absolutely not.
No.
Would not make for a good logo. None of these, I mean, maybe I can isolate this little tip and make it into some kind of logo. The kettle wouldn't look like a logo because none of this would make good for a logo. So What if I want to make it be, look like it's a perfect photo, or a photo, but with only a few colors? So let's start by doing something that's quite different, and let's tell it to have it look like a photo. So let's click on, not quite different, quite normal, let's say, and have it be a high fidelity photo. So since this is not, I'm seeing some questions there while this is happening, Joni. Yeah,
Yeah, so mine didn't come in with an X through it.
you brought it in as an image that we opened from Bridge.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine, because then it already did the whole
Okay,
place.
and then how do I find image trace again?
Select the file and
Yeah,
it'll be there. Like if you don't have it selected, it's not there in the properties. But once you select it, it gives you what can be done with that selection. And one choice would be image trace down here.
I don't see where it is. Where is it? Where is image
Well,
trace?
I'm pointing to it way down here, right there.
Okay, so I don't have that quick act. I have, oh, I see it now. Okay, thank you. Okay.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So here we go. We did the image trace here, and doesn't look like it worked. Or does it? Look at Christian. She's just like, I've done this before, she is saying. I am going to zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, and that looks like nothing happened. It doesn't look like an illustration. It looks like a photo until I start zooming in and in and in and in. And we discover that it does not look like a photo at all. It is actually a pretty amazing illustration. And someone has a little yapping dog. Maybe you can silence yourself. It's a pretty amazing job of tracing high fidelity photo. It really, I mean, you have to go really far in to start seeing that it is actually not a photograph, right? Because let me go to command 1, which I always said in Photoshop is what shows you real pixel to pixel. I think that looks amazing. That is now an illustration that if we needed this photo to be plastered on the side of a truck, because now it's an illustration, I can stretch this out really big, right? And do that. Actually, don't do that. Don't stretch it out. We haven't expanded it yet. So stop. I shouldn't have done that. Come on. I pulled that out without, I have to wait till it undoes that whole thing.
I have another question.
Yes.
Mine, when I clicked on image trace, because I click on the photo, then I click on image trace, it comes up with all these questions. What do I want to do with it?
I showed that we were going to choose the high fidelity photo.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, you're welcome. Let me answer some questions now first. Sarah?
Yeah, I'm trying to shrink the photo like you had, or make it smaller. And I'm clicking Shift Control and then using.
Not Control. This is Illustrator. Just Shift, because the whole frame in content conversation is for InDesign. Illustrator not. So in Illustrator is just Shift and then grab the corner and make it smaller. InDesign is the only one that has that whole like frame and content conversation, and because it's a layout program and you don't create things in it per se, you just bring things from other programs, so it needs containers for them. Here we're actually creating them. Never mind the details, but yeah. So yeah, did that work?
Does it matter if it's the black or the white arrow?
The black arrow does matter. Yes, black arrow.
Okay, I think it's just, oh, there it is. Okay, it was just really slow.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Joni, you have a question?
No, I'm fine.
No, you have it. Okay, anyone else? All right, I had stopped my share, but I'll continue with my share then. So this actually is not the end of the image trace. This was just the testing of it. I can decide that I want to try other options. So right there, I traced it. Oh, it's 8:07. I only have 5 more minutes. I'm going to spend a little bit more time on that there, but let me just say that that is a semi-trace. If I love it and I'm happy with it, then I have one more, and I do. Let's say that I love this and I'm done and I don't need anything else. Now I'm ready to say expand, but hold on, because first I want to show you what would a photo be if I decide to do it in only a few colors. So let's do this as a, let's do 6 colors. There's not that many colors in this. Let's go down to 3 colors only. So I'm going to go back here. We had done high fidelity photo. It looks amazing. It's wow. I can't believe that. That's cool. Now let's click on this and instead choose 3 colors. And let's see what it does, just so you guys have an idea of what Illustrator can do beyond making it look truly like a photo. It can also give you some very graphic type of solutions, so to say. So in this case, later you can change that. You can decide you want 6 colors or make the gray be blue, or, you know, there's a bunch of other stuff we can do, but it's pretty cool, right? Now, to finish it off, let's say that we love this version, the 3-color version. Let's go here and say, see when I hover over expand, it says convert tracing objects to paths, way down here on the bottom. We need to finish a trace by saying expand. Boom. And that now is it. That cannot be turned into a photo anymore. This is now whole bunches of paths that have turned into an image, and I can make it big, small, whatever. I'm going to actually go ahead and say shift minus and make it small, just to get it out of the way a little bit. So we have this one in the way, but this one could be made the side, as I said, humongous or really small. And right now it won't, those blue lines are the selections of the paths. In Illustrator class, we're going to do much more with this. And when you take the Illustrator class, I'll teach you much more about tracing. But anyway, that's one thing. Now this one, on the other hand, we do want to turn into a logo. So when we go click on image trace, and it has choices. So remember, first select this one. Some people forget to change the selection, because you can't image trace this because it's not an image anymore. See how the choice image trace doesn't show up? You need to select this one. It's just still an image that we placed. And this time we're going to choose image trace. And again, what do we want to end up is, many times there's questions about which one of this is the best stop. Since we know we want to turn to a logo to start with, let's just go with black and white logo. So click on black and white logo. And that one was much quicker because it's a tiny file, didn't have many pixels. This one was not. And when we look at the solution, we can come in a control plus a little bit. This is what we ended up with. Now, if you notice, let me go back to Bridge where this image was first there. Make it a bit bigger. If I look at this in the original one, I could pretty much see that the R and the N, which show an R and an N over here, but here a U and a line are in the same spot. I can also see that this T is supposed to be the same as that T, right? So if I just keep an idea about what's happening there, and I head over now, let me go back to Illustrator. Oh, Illustrator, sorry. What do you think about the trace? Does it look like what we started with? At least the trace that I made? Yeah, I'm seeing Brissa going, no. See how the R and the U here are not doing the same as the R and the N, I guess, here. And how here I have these straight lines and here I have like little curves. So at first it's like, oh, it's looking great. But if you look at the details, maybe not that good, right? Well, there's 2 or 3 things. First of all, we can modify the settings to get a better trace is one thing we can do. And the second thing we can do is do the best we can in the trace process. And then in Illustrator, we modify it to be perfect. Okay, so the traces only give us a guideline, but let's get it as near as we can. So here, right next to the black and white, we have a little set of tools that give us more choices. So click on that to get the full-on window. from image trace. Now, if you don't see that, you can also see it there from window, image trace, and pick it up from there. We're going to continue with Illustrator next week, and then we're going to complete the logo, and we're going to bring the text. We're going to complete the whole poster. But for now, just want to get the trace set up. So when I opened up my image trace window, does everyone have this little window somewhere? I'm going to move it. Let me move this up a bit so we can see the effects in this window here, so we can see it a bit better. Okay, so watch. We can change some things about this. The first thing is that when you choose black and white logo, there's that choice implies that there should be only either black or white. And the computer decided somewhere in the middle. Remember, we had like a grayish background. It wasn't white. It looked white, but it was grayish. And then we had the turn was kind of dark gray. So now we could have brought it into Photoshop and made the black and white be really black and white. That's ideal. We didn't do that step because, you know, we're trying to do it a little bit faster, but ideally put it in Photoshop first and then really force the black to be black, the white to be white. That would have given us a much better trace to start with. But when we're here, we can tell it, well, with a threshold, we want more or less of what's here to be black or white. So we can try, I'm going to go one side first and let go. And it all turns white. Or I can go all the way to the other end and it all turns kind of roundish. So I play around until I get what I think might be the best choice given the beginning that I have. So I get it as near as I can, which might be somewhere in the middle, but then there's some other things I can do. So let's head over to advanced. I'm going to turn on this little advanced by clicking on this arrow. And so I get some more, I'm going to put it over here, some more choices. And I can say, well, I'm fine if I have more paths, so it's a bit more accurate. And I want my corners to be better emphasized. So I'm going to move the paths to the right and the corners over here. So something weird is happening there, but let's see over here if we can move things, bring the noise. I don't know if it's going to help to move it down or up. When we do, I'm going to actually bring paths down, the corners high. Look what happens there. So as you can see, these settings really change what's happening, right? And then then I keep moving this to the right or to the left, different things happen. So paths, we want as many as we want. That's usually going to be much better to get more of an accurate representation. Corners, it depends. If we want less corners, things will be more rounded. We want more, we want to have more accuracy. So basically I'm kind of getting to a place where I'm kind of happy-ish. The shapes are almost correct. Here I don't have straight lines. This is looking good. So I'm thinking that this is pretty good. So you need to play around with it, right? Until I'm showing you what things to play around with. And as I keep moving a little bit more to the right and the threshold, I think I've reached a place where this is about as good as the initial trace is going to give me. Okay. And again, it's not about what my settings are to imitate them. It's about you knowing what the variables are for you to know to move them around. One thing I know is that this white is not going to be part of the logo. So you head down here to where it says ignore white and say ignore white. That way this won't become a shape. Otherwise the white will become a shape as well. We only want the black to be a shape. So I said ignore white, which works for the situation of logos. Okay, I might have gotten it better or worse. I'm kind of happy that I got it good enough. And then the rest we will fix in Illustrator, and we will do that next week. But I want you guys to get as near as you can. And if you forget, remember, go back to Bridge, select this and hit the space bar so that you can see it a little bit better and you can really see what matters, which is basically that you have some space in between these letters and that they stay about the same height. Let the lines be kind of as straight as you can. If some of that works and some of that doesn't work, then we're gonna fix what doesn't work with the tools that Illustrator gave us to fix things, okay? But we're not gonna do that today. There we go. If we think we're happy enough, and I think I'm happy enough with that, then what was the next thing I need? I'm going to move this out of the way because what's the final thing that I need to do? That we did with this after we did the trace? Expand. So let's head over here and hit expand. If you're not sure that the trace is still too good, you guys can keep playing with that and then expand it. But I want to honor that it's 8:17. So for some of you guys, you need to run off. Once you've hit expand, I'm going to close this image trace window. And here I have, this is already now pixels, vector. It's been turned into a vector. So I can hold down my shift key and make it bigger. Okay. And then remember shift key with the black arrow key. And this is it. This is what I got. And this is a good starting point to now make my logo. So remember, you don't scan in something and it's ready to go. You scan it in and then you work on it until it's ready to go. So let's save file, save. If you guys know a lot about Illustrator, so if you want to work on it over the weekend, that's good. Other than that, my request is find something else to scan, try it. And now, by the way, let's do a screenshot of this. Okay. And then put that in your Padlet and then close it up. And then if you have an image of your own that you can bring up, a sketch that you did, you know, draw something and take a picture of it and then try to scan it to image trace it, place it in image trace it, just play around with that whole image tracing. There's so many variables that that'll get you a better or a worse scan. Try it with photos and see what happens with more or less colors. Have some fun with that and post some of that to your Padlet as your homework. Okay. All right. So I'm going to answer questions now, but other than that, class is officially over. So you're welcome. Bye. All right, Joni, you have a question?
Yes, my turn has little squares all over it.
Your what?
My turn logo.
Yes, has
little
squares. Share your screen.
Little squares.
Go ahead and share your screen.
Okay.
By the way, for those of you on VDI, don't forget to slowly save everything back out and then close all your programs, but then remember to log out of your Google Drive, okay?
Did you put the Padlet information on? Okay, great.
Yeah, I can put the Padlet on again. That's true. Yeah, I put it up again. Here it is one more time. I put it 2 or 3 times in there already. There's the Padlet. Yeah, so that's because they're selected. So if you're an Illustrator, have you taken the Illustrator class yet? No.
I am right now.
Oh, you are. Okay, so go ahead and click your bring Illustrator up. Yeah. So now go to your selection tool, the V or back selection tool. There you go. And then you click away and there it is. All those little squares that you saw were the anchor points that Illustrator created, but it's a vector file now. So now you're ready to just save it and take a screenshot of it and then save it and then wait until we're going to work on it next week.
Thanks.
Okay. You're welcome. And if you're in the Illustrator class, then tomorrow we're going to keep working with Illustrator and you'll know more about what to do. All right. Sarah Clark.
Dana, I missed how you, after you adjusted all the levels for paths, corners, and noise, how did you save it? What was the
I hit expand. So you might need to move it out of the way a little bit. Do you want to share your screen? I'll share mine otherwise to show you. It's just that mine is already expanded, so I won't have it. So actually, yeah. So you have the image trace window in the way. So over there where it says image trace, you need to go up to the, no, it's not here. The expand is not here. So go up to the word image trace.
Where's image trace?
A little bit higher. The name of the whole panel is called image trace. And then grab it a little bit higher from the gray area. Nope, not to properties. Yeah, there. Click and, right above the name image tracers. Yeah, click and drag it to the left so it's out of the way. Move it out. Move the whole panel out of the way. Yeah. And there you've uncovered at the bottom of the properties panel there
okay.
it says expand.
Just expand.
Yeah. It's just that in order to show you guys this thing, I had to put that on top to make space, and that's why you couldn't see it. But yeah, or you can just close. Once you're done with the image trace, you can close that window. You don't need it anymore. And then you would have seen the expand. So there you go. Now you're ready to save and cool.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Any more questions?
Right, thank you so much. See
You're
you.
welcome. So Jinsu, I still have not seen any of your work in Padlet. So I need to see
I'm doing it
you.
right now.
No, not so well. I'm saying to Jean. Okay, so this is the Padlet, Jean, and I haven't seen any.
I'm not using get used to the Google Drive, so it'll take some time for me to figure out.
Okay, I need to see some work. I need to see you doing something because right now, as far as I'm concerned, you're not in the class. You're not doing it.
Okay,
Okay.
let me
please
try something. Post something on it,
post some stuff. All right.
Okay, post as you wish.
All right. Okay, everyone. Brisa, I need to see some of today's work. I don't
Can you
see.
remind me what's the
link
to take the screenshot? To take the screenshot.
Yeah. So let me share my screen. So when you need to do a screenshot in the PC, you go down to this magnifying glass and you write snip, and then the snipping tool opens up. Oh, I'm not sharing, I'm sorry. I was trying to share. So you go down to this magnifying glass and you say snip. And then that gives you the snipping tool. And you need to catch up. You need to do snips of some of the past work, Lisa, because I need to see your work. Okay. I mean, I know because you share your screen, I see some of your stuff. Jin, I haven't seen anything, but you, I know you're working on it. Okay, so did you find the snipping tool? Hold on, Jen. Brisa, did you find the snipping tool?
No.
Do you want to share your screen so I can help you with your own screen?
Sure.
Yeah, Sarah, that's the more you post, the better. Yeah, at this point, I'm happy if you do, yeah, one of the logo, one of the poster and one of the the two logos that we just image traced. Okay, so that's perfect. All right, Brisa. So go down to where it says type here to search on the very bottom. What computer are you working on?
It's like a HP.
It's
and then
HP.
I upload like the Windows 11.
You're in a Windows machine, right? Okay.
Yes, Windows.
So I was asking because if you're in a Windows machine, you can go ahead and
this one, right? Because it's in Spanish. It's in Spanish. That's
No, hablemos en español, si yo mucha gente los ayudo en español también. Así que te puedo ayudar.
Herramienta de recortes.
Sí, a ver.
Claro.
No sé qué herramienta es. Será recorte suena, ¿no? A ver, tendría que aparecer. Me estás haciendo un share, no de tu ventana completa. Te hago una pregunta. ¿Podés hacer share again, pero de todo tu desktop en lugar de solamente de esta window? Espera, I'm going to stop your sharing. Haces share de vuelta, pero esta vez elegí tu desktop. No sé.
Ok.
Todo.
Share, herramientas de voy por herramientas de recorte.
Primera, no. Yo dejé de verte. quiero ver de vuelta, quiero que hagas un share screen. ¿Ok? Pero de todo. No. Ah,
No.
sí, ahí veo todo, ¿ves? Porque si vos haces un recorte dentro de VDI, es más difícil después ponerlo. En cambio, anda a buscar ese, el de tu propia. Ok, a ver, perfecto, herramienta recortes. Muy bien, ahora hace nuevo. Muy bien, ahora hace una. Está bien, espera, no necesito todo, solamente necesito el pedazo ese de la imagen, ok. Now tenés que salvar la imagen, o sea que tenés que hacer
Save.
un save y ponerlos en cualquier parte en tu escritorio, está perfecto, guardar. Muy bien. Y ahora andate al chat de Zoom. Bueno, ahora andate al InDesign y hace lo mismo. Podés cerrar esta, ya esta la podés cerrar. Y ahora andate al InDesign y hacete herramientas perfectas no, volvete a InDesign. ID.
Ajá, estoy en InDesign.
Ahí, en InDesign. Volvete a InDesign donde está el póster.
¿Dónde está el póster? ¿El Trump?
No, este es el logo. Andate al póster de vuelta. InDesign, el programa InDesign, al rojito es. No, a la izquierda.
Ya, ok, ya,
Ahí.
InDesign.
Ahí está. Y ahora hacete un screenshot de esto.
Ok.
Ok, no, pero ahí no. Hacelo en tu computadora verdadera, que es el screenshot de abajo. Ahí, herramienta de recortes.
Ya, por eso no puedo.
Nuevo, y ahora hacete un screenshot de esto. Ok, perfecto. Ok, sálvalo.
¿Verdad?
Ok. Y ahora cerrar. Ok, perfecto. Ahora te vas al chat y hace un clic en el link del chat de Zoom donde está el Padlet. Andate al chat y hacete un clic.
Claro. Es que estás en let me keep it there.
Ahí
Solo puedo ver. Sí, pero es que ¿cómo le hago para poder
pero
ver?
ahí lo vi y después desapareció. Volvé a apretar. Ahí apareció por un segundito, se fue. Apretá el link.
Ya,
En el chat. Ahí puse yo un link en el chat en el Zoom. Ahí donde tenés que escribir cosas, en el chat de Zoom, donde yo puse, a ver, lo voy a poner de vuelta. Voy a hacer un paste en el chat, ahí. Ves que yo puse meet to everyone, ves que ahí puse, sí. Ahí ves que pone un link, apretá ese link que dice padlet.com. Ahí, perfecto.
Ya.
Ahí estás, muy bien. Ahora andate abajo a la derecha, no, quédate en el chat, quédate en el Padlet, volvete a Google. ¿Dónde se te abrió? No se te abrió en el Edge, no, en el verdadero, abajo, uno a la derecha. Ahí, en el Edge.
No, es este.
No toques.
Sí,
ahí. Perfecto, pero primero tenés que apretar ese plus, ese símbolo a la derecha, donde abajo a la derecha hay un círculo rosado con un plus, ahí. Y ahí pone tu nombre en subject, pone Brisa. Espera, primero, bueno, busca la foto, como quieras, pero no quiero que te olvides.
Okay.
Andate al escritorio y uno a la vez, o sea que primero ese, cualquiera que quieras, pero uno a la vez. O sea que elegí uno y ahora decía abrir o doble clic. Y ahí sube y después ahí pone tu nombre, Brisa. Pero este es el del otro día, pero está bien. Y después hace publish. Y arriba de todo, cuando dice publish, no. Ahí, publish. Ahora hace el símbolo de plus again y pone las otras. Ahí no, esa es la cámara, es decirle close. El primer icono, el de lo. Ahí. Perfecto. Ok, ya sabes, publish y así con todo. Y hacelo con otro trabajo de antes, ¿ok?
Ya, vale, muy bien. Muchas gracias. Qué amable.
De nada, sabes que de mí me puedes hablar siempre como quieras en español para que entender más. Yo feliz.
Vale, muchas gracias.
De
Hasta
nada.
luego.
Ok,
Nos vemos
bye.
mañana.
¿Cómo?
Nos
Saúl.
vemos mañana.
Nos
Sí.
vemos mañana, Saúl.
Ok, hasta
Cuidado.
luego. Buenas noches.
Adiós. Buenas noches.